It's Monday morning, skunks. That's right. Monday morning, Collider Live. We are back from a weekend of debauchery. Is that true?
Debauchery?
Debauchery. Yeah.
Thank you.
In St. Louis. It is Collider Live. I'm Kristian Harloff, joined by my crew today. Miss Roxy Striar, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Great weekend.
I love your hair.
Thanks, man.
I really do. I think it looks amazing.
Super blonde. I'll take it.
You like it?
buttering me up to make me feel better?
No.
Yes.
Not on purpose.
But subconsciously.
But I guess if it helps, it helps.
Yeah,
but
it's working.
I legit like it. I don't think I've ever seen you as a blonde. I think I like it.
Yeah, it's full blown. I don't know
like
yet.
it?
It's still not me.
Oh.
So I do like it, but I look in the mirror and I'm very blonde.
Oh, you want to grow into it?
Yeah,
I see.
a little bit.
You want to accept the lifestyle
Yeah.
first. You haven't earned it yet.
It's a whole lifestyle.
I understand. Mark Reilly, how are you?
Hi.
Oh, good. Perfect. You had a nice weekend, I guess. Drink a lot of wine?
I did not drink a lot of wine. I'm just fighting something.
Good.
So
I'm glad you brought it into this small room where nobody can get it.
Yeah, you
I
and me
really
both.
hope that everybody
You guys
gets
are
it so
screwed.
you can feel what I feel.
It's nice.
Because it's not good.
Well, we don't
No,
have...
I'm fine.
Yeah, we're clean shaven because we don't have a Beardo anymore.
Oh, I was going to say, none of you are clean shaven.
Well, clean
I was
shaven.
like, huh?
Beardo has left the show. Yes. Thank you. Thank you to the new sound.
Beardo.
I really like Beardo.
I do too. He's monotone and joyless, but I like him very much.
Monotone and joyless.
Yeah, we'll miss him.
That was the worst
That was
impression.
okay.
And we'll miss him, but we lose a Beardo, we gain a Sheridan.
Oh, man.
Welcome
Hi,
back,
Brett.
Brett.
Excitement is palpable.
I know. Are you excited to be back?
I watched your big announcement.
Yeah.
And the excitement that washed over the room when you made that announcement.
Well,
was
the fans loved it. Well, because it was, in the
It was so like.
yeah, but the thing was here.
Oh, okay.
It's because we didn't want to celebrate that Beardo was leaving. Now we can.
No,
But,
no. I love Beardo. I'm sad that Beardo's gone.
Yeah, me too.
I am
Yeah.
too.
And something's going on with. Is it happening to everybody else or just me, or am I having a
think just
stroke?
you.
What is it?
There's like this ear keeps going out on me.
Oh, that's
think it's
definitely
just
yours. Yeah, it's your thing.
Hey, I might be stroking
So,
here.
were you watching the show when you were gone, or just to hear your announcement?
No, because I had turned it on because Kristian had said, "Hey, can you do full time now?" I'm like, "Yeah, let me talk to work and see how it goes." And then I hear, "Hey, he announced you're doing it full time."
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's that classic Kristian
So
Harloff
then I was
move.
like,
Happened
"Oh
to me
shit,
many
let
a
me see
time.
what he said exactly."
Yeah,
So-
I just felt it. I knew it was coming. I knew you were gonna do it because it was when I saw him.
'Cause I can't say no.
No, and I forget you came over for what the hell did I give you when you came over? I gave you something. Remote
phone.
control.
A phone.
And remote control. And
What?
So
My phone got washed
Yeah.
when I was in Germany, so I
Germany.
needed a new phone. So
Yeah.
That was
if,
nice of
if
you.
you're wondering how the trip was, that kind of encompasses the whole trip. So.
Yeah.
And then you gave him a remote control?
There was this old television that I had that Brett came over, did a shit ton of work on my place, and I was like, I can pay you with this old television. And he
like
said,
handyman work?
I mean, if
Yeah.
you're
put
wondering
together my kid's crib. It was amazing.
about my self-worth,
Yeah.
that's what I get paid.
It was a good
It was a good television.
I paid you like a grand.
Can I grab some of these Legos too? Yeah, grab one of the
Our
Legos.
door is broken right now. I have an old toaster
Yeah,
that I
and I'll
could give
take
you
it.
if
I'll
you'd
take
like
it.
to come over.
Toaster's worth like $30, especially with the
Yeah.
bullshit that you probably left
No, he
in
gave
there.
me an iPhone. There was a plasma TV for my son's
Right.
room. Yeah, no, I'll take. Yeah,
That's
I'll
what I'm
take any of
saying.
that stuff.
I would rather
I'm
that-
vying for that old iMac here too. Mine's on the fritz. So
Well, that's what. So you do that, and it's like instead of your friend giving you like $100, you get a television.
Yeah.
and it's a
You
good
don't
deal.
feel so
That's-
bad.
The television's good.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
old or not. I mean,
No, it's
that's
a good
how old
television.
are we talking though?
2012.
What's
See,
up with this
that's
iMac?
fine.
I'll do work for an iMac. MacBook?
Yeah.
iMac, not a laptop.
Yeah.
Old computers, old TVs, those are good things.
I'm in electronics.
I'm behind that. Yeah.
I want to ask you a question. I have two for you.
Oh, goodness.
Which one do you want first? Question one or question two?
Two.
So we have a guest
Whoop,
today.
big mistake.
Jordan Harbinger is coming in.
Okay.
Harbinger.
That's what I said, Harbinger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's his face? Data in Goonies. That's what I said.
That's what I said. Send booty traps.
But so Jordan Harbinger is a podcast host. He has a very fascinating story, and so we were talking about some of the things he'd been kidnapped before. And then Roxy, as Roxy does, throws in and goes, "Yeah, me too." I go, "Me too? What? You have a podcast? No, I've been kidnapped." Like, what?
Yeah.
How have you been kidnapped? What happened? Ex-boyfriend?
No.
happened?
Wow. This is kind of a wild one.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm so glad I asked for number two. It was
Go
only
right
it was
into
only
it.
for 24 hours, and I guess that's the only way that I can title it because that's what my therapist calls it. So
Okay. How old were
that
you?
would be what it is. I was in college. So I was 18. I was my freshman year. And there was a guy at school who I had known since I was like 5.
Okay.
Very, very close friend of mine. And there had been some mental health issues going on with him.
Okay.
And so.
Drug use or just?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Schizophrenia, which at the time we did not know.
Okay.
So he called me one day and he said, I need you to come outside right now. The Jews are under attack. The Jews are under attack. And I knew that something was up because, you look out your dorm window and
Right.
no Jews are under attack.
Right,
And I go
right.
to USC, so you would know because a lot of Jews there.
Yeah.
And for anybody who doesn't know, I am Jewish, and so is he. So I came downstairs to come talk to him in his car, and he grabbed me and put me in his car, and then took me to a place and locked me in a room with a bunch of other Jews.
Wait a minute. So do you mind?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So the first thing though too, because is he tying you up here? Does he lock the door? What happens?
So he locks the doors. He put me in his car in the back seat, locked the door. I was trying to get out, and I was trying to talk to him through it. Like, what are you talking about? What's going on? Took off my necklace that I was wearing. I had a star on at the time.
Wow.
And it was only like 10 minutes where we were going, so I didn't realize at the time what was happening. Otherwise, I think I would have tried harder to get out of the car. I was
Yeah.
more focused on calming him down, and then when we got to his place, it wasn't until like I was tossed in the room and locked the door.
With other people? How many other people?
There was like 5 other people.
Women and men?
Yeah, people I did not know.
Wow.
Holy shit.
And so then finally I got, I was banging on the door. And not that this mattered, but it was finals season. And so that's what you care about as a college kid. We were studying
of
for
course.
finals. I had
Yeah.
finals the next day, which I ended up missing.
But don't they know what happens?
Well, at the time, nobody
No,
knew
but
where.
when they find out, you probably get they don't dock you for that.
I was able to take them.
Right.
I was able to
That's what
take
I'm
them late because of the situation. So I knew his mom very well from back home. And
He's
so
your age? I'm sorry.
No,
Jordan?
he was older. He
Oh,
was a couple
older.
years
Oh, I
older.
see.
And so finally, I was banging on the door. I finally got him to let me come talk to him. The other people are still locked in the room. And during this time, he had gone and proposed to somebody. It was like a whole situation.
What was the reason? Did we find out why?
He said that Obama was coming for the Jews.
Okay.
Somebody who obviously voted for, not obviously, he had voted for Obama,
Okay.
a very liberal guy. And now he wasn't, and Obama was coming for the Jews, and he had to save us all, and so he needed to protect us.
He's protecting you guys in his head. He's
In the bu-
protecting
in
you. There was no intent for harm. On his
No
part.
intent for harm,
I see.
he said, and he was protecting us and, like bringing food into the room and,
Right.
and keeping us in there.
What are these other people doing? Are they freaking out?
Freaking out. Freaking
And you're saying I know this guy? Did they know him also?
Two of them did well, and 2 of them did not well. And I was like, listen, I had known him since I was a little kid, and he had leukemia. And he was like we went to the hospital every day for a month and a half for him, and he was so like part of my family.
Right.
And so he had exhibited signs of stuff like this before, but never to this
Right,
extent. And
sure.
so you kind of just chalk it up to like, oh, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then finally I got him to at least let us call his mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to her, and she told me I had to find a way to get him back home, and to get him back to Boston.
So you were able to get him out of the house?
So it took a few days.
Right.
I was able to let him get the people out finally after like I think it was like 36 hours or something.
So and they get out, they freak out, they just take off. Do any of them call the cops?
Nobody called the cops.
Really?
I was very surprised.
Wow.
Because I think everybody knew that he was not a bad guy. He was just
Right.
like,
Going through something.
yeah, whatever that
He
was.
wasn't screaming
It
or
wa-
yelling at you guys. He was letting you.
He
It felt like he was trying to like.
He was singing, screaming, like making songs, but he was not like abusing.
Right.
I mean, it was
he wasn't
abusing.
trying to. It wasn't like kidnapping to set fear and to try, because a lot of kidnappers sometimes when that happens, it's like it's a matter of this power, this dominance. That wasn't what this was.
No, God was speaking to him, and
I
God
see.
was telling him that he had to keep us safe, and so that's what he was. He really, really thought he was saving our lives, and so how I finally got him to go home is I said, okay, when is God telling you that Obama's going to come kill us all? When is that?
Right.
And he said it's going to be tomorrow, and I said, okay, so I'll stay here. You can keep them locked up till tomorrow. I'll stay here with you. If tomorrow comes and it doesn't happen, can you write down on this piece of paper for me that you let everybody go and you go home?
Right.
And he was like, that's not going to happen. I was like, okay, maybe it's not totally, but let's write it down.
Right.
And the next day came, and obviously nothing happened.
Yeah. Now, was he a big guy? Was
Huge.
He, okay.
Yeah, it's a very big guy.
Right.
Yes.
You had a question, Brett?
Oh no, that's just frightening.
Frightening.
It was very
Yeah.
frightening,
Yeah.
and it took a very. He's still close with my family now, now medicated.
Right.
and
Well, I was just going to ask you. So, what are the repercussions? What happens to him for doing that?
so I got him to the airport, and I got them to let me bring him through. I got him on the plane. He took the next semester off. Got help. Went into his mom put him into.
So, no charges were pressed.
No charges.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
Went into the hospital at
Very
home
lucky, yeah.
for several months, and now is living a very, very normal life. Medicated with girlfriend.
Okay.
Went to grad school, doing very well.
Has not had an episode since.
I
not
believe
to that extent.
not to that extent. I believe he did go off his medication at one point because this was a decade ago, and
Okay.
there was something smaller. But
Right.
yeah, and he's still very, very close with my family.
That's so, lack of better words, it's crazy because like
Yeah.
when you, because of that and because you're able to stay calm, because you'll be able to have that conversation with him that you ultimately, I don't want to say, like we said, it didn't seem like it was going to threat. You didn't necessarily save their lives, but you were able to get them out of there.
Yeah.
Because you were able to have that calm conversation. But like you said in the beginning of this, it's got to mentally affect you like that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And, I think that when you're the one in the situation that's kind of taking charge, when you're the one who feels like you're the only one who can do anything because the other people had no idea what to do, you do stay calm while you're there. And then afterwards, that's when it all kind of sets in, like, what the
Right.
fuck just happened, you
Right.
know? But truthfully, I think that it happened to him for a reason like that with the people that it did. Obviously, the fact that no charges were pressed against him and nothing happened to him to take a hit like that is such a blessing for
Yeah,
him.
seriously.
And it would have happened
Well,
in a
and he's
different
lucky it
way.
was you.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky. We have a very awkward relationship now, I will say.
You guys still speak?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
because I care about him a lot, and
Right.
I always will. And anybody, I don't know if this is the case for you, but because my mom loved him so much, it doesn't feel right to not be with him, to not have a relationship with him, because since she passed, I try to think about what she would want
Right.
and how she would want me to act. So I still try to be very respectful, but it's really hard to be in the same room as him if there's nobody else there sometimes, just because it's a scary
Yeah,
thing.
memories come back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he never fully apologized. He can't really admit what he did.
Right.
He talked to my brother about it and was like, I know, but I can't look at her
Did
in
your
the
brother?
eyes. And
How did your brother react to that? You wanna,
he was petrified, and but he stayed with him while he got help, and he's really changed.
Right.
And mental illness is a real effing thing.
It is.
So
It is indeed. And thank you for sharing that
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
That is actually something that we joke, but that is hashtag so brave.
So
that you
brave.
throw that in there too. I think that was because when we were talking about it this morning, Reilly, the fact that this I don't know what Jordan's experience was, and I'm sure we'll find that out when he's in here. But like
Yeah.
when
Probably
Roxy
very
said that-
different.
oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure
Yeah.
it is. But it's still, like you said, mentally you got to handle things the way that you handle them, no matter what the circumstance is, no matter how it's a scary thing. Like especially yours might, and again, I don't know his story yet, but like yours is so scary because it's someone that you knew,
Right.
someone that you
I was going
trusted.
to say that's
somebody that you trust, and you don't know what the outcome is when you're in the middle of it, because now looking back, okay, it was 36 hours of my life and then an additional week to make everything fine, but at the time I was like, how long am I going to be in here? What's happening?
Right.
You don't know. You don't know.
Did you ever have a relationship with them? This is where I go to because I'm a 6-year-old. Do you ever have that relationship where you can start with him that you could kind of crack jokes about it?
So
I'm going to the bathroom, Charlie. Don't kidnap me. You know what I'm saying?
he tried once.
Yeah.
And it didn't land well.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't mad about it.
as you can imagine.
Too soon.
It was very soon.
It was the next
like
day.
it was like a year later.
Right.
And the first time I had seen him after treatment and whatnot, and he cracked it, and I was mad. I just kind of was like,
No, dude. Right.
I don't know. Just you don't know how something's gonna hit you till it does, and when it did. But I think now at this point, maybe we could try. It's just awkward.
Yeah.
It's just
well,
truthfully,
no
it's
shit.
awkward. It's
Yeah.
awkward.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you
yeah.
went through that.
Thanks.
And again, thank you for telling us, and maybe it helps to talk about it. I don't know. Maybe it does.
Definitely. It's so weird. There's so much that's happened in my life. I forget. certain things,
Yeah.
until somebody brings it up and you were kidnapped, and I was like, oh yeah, my therapist calls it that. I guess that's what happened to me.
Well, let's do an easy transition. How is Germany?
Yeah, great question.
Let's do an easy transition. How was your weekend?
Yeah, I know. Well, because again, thank you, and for everyone. Like, I think
I
that
thought it was a great transition.
I thought the most important thing about that was, like you said, it's we've talked about it on one-on-one. We talk about it here. Mental health. That's a great sound effect. I got to tell you, it's a wonderful sound
It's
effect.
a real effing thing, and you don't really, people chalk up a lot of things to mental health, but like when you really are sick, it's a real.
It is.
It's just as real as cancer.
So, guys, if there are people that help is always there, and I can tell you from personal experience as well too. Don't ignore it. Pay attention to it.
There's no shame in asking for help.
Right. So
There's no shame.
Look, serious way to start off Glider Line. I like it.
There we go.
I like it.
Yeah, it's
I like it.
different.
Look,
Yeah.
Hashtag that's
You know,
the
when
show.
I was coming back, it was going to get real serious.
Yeah, that's what I think of when
really
I think
break
of
it
you.
down.
Exactly.
Brett brings it out.
Can we
Brett.
actually go to Germany though for a second? Because I want to hear why were you there?
Yeah,
and what was
I was
happening?
wondering
Like,
too.
what can you talk about? What can't you talk about?
I can talk about. I mean, I was there for a show that we're putting together about board gaming, and it's a lifestyle kind of a show. It's not like reviewing or playing. It's
What's your part of it?
just a talent and also writer. So
Cool.
it was. But I mean, the trip as a whole was not great. It all started off with a delayed flight.
That always sucks.
And it was like a 3-hour delay that led to getting in a full day, 2 days of travel. I dropped my wallet in the Dusseldorf bathroom and had to track that. I mean, it's just like
You found it?
snowball. Yeah, I found my wallet. My
That's great.
my phone got washed in a load of clothes. Somebody grabbed a stack of their stuff, thought it was theirs, and
Oh, you didn't do
Great.
the washing? Somebody else washed your phone?
No.
And that person did not pay for it?
No. I mean, it was totally a mistake. I mean, we were all tired. It was, we were staying in this Airbnb, and it was just tossing
Did they
stuff
feel
on a
terrible,
couch.
at
Oh
least?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I don't care, mistake or not. I think you got to cough it
Well,
up at
this
that
was the
point.
second time I've washed it. I washed it personally at Mardi Gras, and that was for another reason.
What was the reason?
Because I was tipsy.
I was going to say, you were drunk?
I thought Mardi Gras would have given you the
reason.
I don't know.
The tip.
It's Mardi Gras. Anything could
I'm
be.
like, these jeans need to get washed.
Should be doing lines off the fucking thing. I
It was
don't know.
raining. I'm like, there's mud all over my jeans.
So you're saying if it hadn't previously been washed, this washing
it was
might not
on
have
its last
affected?
legs,
Okay.
and my friend felt horrible about it.
Okay.
And I wouldn't,
Right.
know.
It
And
wasn't
I-
like a brand new phone.
No,
Okay.
it was on. It was like the battery. I had to carry one of those extra chargers in my pocket all the time because the battery was constantly draining.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really get to see Germany. It was mostly work. I spent, the whole time in this convention center at Essen. And
Did you learn
so,
any phrases?
I know some phrases.
His kids can speak fluent German, right?
Yeah, not fluent, but close enough.
Close
Wow,
enough.
pretty close.
conversational?
Yeah. My
His son you hear him popping out the German. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have him. It's so funny, being in LA for so long, I kept going to Spanish. I kept por favor. I'm like, no.
Right.
But a lot of them speak Spanish there, actually.
Yeah, that would have been helpful, But I screwed up a couple things. I ordered something for somebody goes, order this for me, and I ordered them the number 13 instead of the 30.
How would you do it?
I said, can I get the Jahns? Bitte. And they said, oh, Jahns. I'm like, Jahns. No, Jahns. Ah! I was like, and they're like, then they start talking a lot of German to me. I'm like, no, I don't know that
Right.
much. I thought I could count.
How was the food there? Pretty good?
It was the food. We actually got to go a couple places and was amazing. Like big, huge portions, big schnitzels and brats.
Any
And
Strom
just,
Brownson sightings or
excuse me,
any Stom Brownson sightings?
who's that?
From Strom? Was it Strom or Stom?
No, Strom.
Tom Brownson.
Yeah,
Strom
it's Danish Kristian Harloff would.
Oh,
would be
really?
upset.
Yeah. Oh,
Who,
yeah.
Danish Kristian Harloff is actually sounds German.
Oh, that's
which
what I
is
heard.
weird.
That's what. Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
it's
heard
really
about
weird.
this.
Yeah.
This
He's a
character.
German, not
Did
the
you
Danish.
did you get sick? Germany's the only place that I ate myself sick. Like all the sausage, I made myself puke with how much sausage
Well,
I ate.
I'm a pretty carnivorous person already,
Nice.
so I mean, I'm not gonna get sick. Now speaking of Mardi Gras, my brother gave me nothing but meat. Like I was like, please throw a vegetable in once in a while.
Right.
Yeah, but that's the spiciness of that. But the German stuff, like the brats and things they're so good. They're so much
They're
better
so
than like
good.
Johnsonville with that's all sinewy and like has the. extra.
Oh, I don't
tendons
understand
and
either word you just said.
sinewy.
Johnsonville sinewy.
Johnsonville brats.
He's talking about like the stuff you buy at
Americanized,
Ralph's,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and
They
just
have like
that's not proper.
tendony stuff, and it's just
Yeah.
it's all the pieces and parts. I think they use the better parts.
Well, you're back. You made it
I
safe.
am bad. I've never come back from a trip where I like lifted up the window thing and was like, "It's the sun! It's the sun!" You know, it was 7 days of no sun. Like the sun never comes out. Their days were short. I heard from German friends of mine. They were all laughing at me like that. You went at the worst possible time of the year.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like we left in darkness, stayed in the convention center, came home in darkness, and I never once saw
like
the
a
sun.
vampire.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. And it's good
Thank
to have
you.
you now. And now you're on the show. Now we're gonna.
I
be
am.
days a week.
I
very
guess
excited
so.
about
I
this.
guess
worries.
it's
Yeah.
confirmed.
Yeah.
It's confirmed.
Until I drive a couple more times.
Yeah. See, and Beardo's still here in spirit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Christian,
yeah.
what was the number one? I just remembered that.
Yeah, I know.
well,
Buried the lead.
Yeah. Well, the number.
Do we want to bring it down
I don't
again?
know. I was hoping it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Actually, the
Okay.
timing
Yeah.
actually
Now I'm
worked
scared.
out because we went from this first story to then not being able to see the sun, and now we come back around. Roxy came in and she said that she had been listening to Afterthoughts.
Oh,
So
yeah.
just to let everybody know.
Oh, boy.
Afterthoughts is now on the Collider Live feed, and I will say this because Roxy has a thing that we'll talk about in a little bit with the guys. But we're going to not talk about it on the air. You'll talk about it with them later, but we'll just talk about the concern. But the show itself has been great. I think that
You do a really good job.
this version of it hit their stride. They have hit their stride. It is everything that I wanted the show to be in the first place, and they are vibing. They have a great chemistry together. It is on the Collider Live feed. You can get it. Listen to Jay and Snelling and. I was on the show, the first show.
I have notes about your
I want
portion
to
on
hear
the
it.
show.
All right, let's
yeah, you did a great job.
So
though.
let's talk about the show content itself. We'll talk about the concern afterwards.
Yeah. Question for you. You guys
Sure.
they talked about this on Afterthoughts. You said it very casually, and I didn't know if this was a Collider rule or you just think that people do this. You can take your birthday off work?
Yeah.
You don't,
Yeah.
Is that just at Collider?
I don't know if it's just at Collider, but I mean, I know
That's
there's
a rule here.
There's a lot of places. I
You
mean,
can do- yeah.
well, Jay Williams talked about it too. You can take it. They offer it to you in a lot of places.
What?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Like a freebie?
Well, one of the
Yeah.
days off that you get, it's included for your birthday. You have a birthday day. They include it as a birthday day off.
I gotta tell you, I think that's really stupid.
Why? Tell Fernandez.
Because
Who celebrates
it's
birthdays
really
anymore?
rad.
Oh,
I
it's,
don't know.
it's awesome, but I
It's
think
like-
company-wise, I think it's awesome. It's great that you guys are allowed to do that. But it's stupid.
Why is it-
stupid as
why-
hell.
Can we
all
just do
bring
this
it
the whole
down,
show?
bring it down. Why?
Because it
why
just
is that?
reminds me of being a kid. When you go
Yeah.
in your school,
I took it, but I
it's like
took it-
special. What the hell's your
Channel
birthday?
that. That's
I didn't,
great.
I didn't take my birthday off.
I know. That's why you got to take the other thing off.
Stop it. My anniversary. Yes, that's why I took it off. So, but anyway, so that's the first question.
Yeah. So I didn't know if that was just here.
Yeah, no, it's here. I hear
think
another
people
thing.
make too big of a deal. Like you didn't do anything. You got pushed out of a vagina, or some of you got cut open. So
Well, first of all, that I don't disagree with. My brother actually brought this up to me a long time ago. Your parents, your mother, should be the one who gets the day.
Celebrated. That should be
because
Mother's
she's the one.
Day.
I mean, after watching what my wife went through twice,
Yeah.
that day is like she should be able to do whatever the fuck she wants. Like that. It's but that's not
it's
the way.
really
that,
the anniversary of the most painful day
what
of all
did
time.
I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Oh, you shit for the first time. Hooray.
So I'm all for celebrating. I love celebrating my birthday, but growing up, I will tell you, my dad would refuse to buy us birthday presents because he said, "You didn't do shit."
Well, he's not wrong.
You did not do
well,
shit.
That's all you did.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
And
That's
it's like,
great.
It's true.
And then another thing that I have to say about them. So they were talking.
Wait, them is so the questions
them.
are over about the
no,
interview.
No, this is
Okay.
about.
Oh, right.
I guess they said it when you were there, so I was curious your thoughts about this. So they seem to really have bones to pick with Makuga all the time.
All the time.
It's kind of a ongoing
Thing.
bit, I think,
Okay.
at this point.
So they were upset because they say that we interrupt. Oh, I guess this actually happened right after you left Stream of Consciousness. They're upset because they say we interrupt you all the time, which I'm not going to say is not true. It might be true. But then they're also upset that certain things don't come up, like when we had the really awesome guest, sitting right here.
Which one?
John
Matthew
Noble?
Lillard?
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
And he was talking about something mentioned Between the Sheets, the name of a show
Oh,
or
right,
whatever. And they're
right.
like, you guys really aren't going to bring that up, but it's like, you're mad.
Hey!
Oh my God.
Yes, what a surprise guest. Get in here. Sit down. Get over here.
Wait.
Sit down. Give him
Hey!
Everybody
Everybody is on iTunes. Jeremy John's in the
Looks
building.
like I lost my seat.
Can we get Johnsy a mic?
Did
I
it
think my.
Hi, honey.
did it really work that talking to you yesterday? What? I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, we were. I was like, God.
Did you know we were in here, or did you really just walk in here having no idea we were in here?
No, do I sit here? Right behind Reilly? I'll be like
Sure.
a brooding presence.
Yeah, do that.
How creepy does this look?
This is the most comfortable area right here.
This actually, the seats aren't bad.
Wait, maybe, Brett, scooch next to me, and then have him scooch up to the
God,
desk.
I didn't know I'd throw off the whole vibe like that.
No, you're
you know?
good.
No,
It's worth it.
I was thinking to myself because I wanted to see the new digs. I haven't seen the new studio space, and then I was putting myself in Kristian's shoes, and I was like, God, I don't want to pop in, pop out. Kristian gets done. It was like, hey, Jeremy was here for a bit, and basically said, fuck you, I'm out. So I'm not gonna do that.
You know me pretty well too at this point of the way I
Yeah.
like to do the show. So it's just like,
Yeah.
you knew that I wouldn't get
This
upset.
is perfect.
No, yeah. Well,
this
also
would have been the reaction.
I ran it by Fernandez. Was like, he's like, yeah, go in there. I was like, do I knock?
This is
Like, no.
unbelievable because on Afterthoughts you were just saying nobody should walk in the room unannounced. Nobody walks in unannounced.
people who work in the office, but when you have a special guest like
Yeah.
Jeremy
True.
Johns,
This is a
Present
exception.
company accepted.
Yes,
Well,
of
thank you
course,
very
of
much.
course.
I
How you
feel
doing,
special.
man?
I'm doing good. It was, just in town for, to pay respects
Right.
for the great Schnepp.
Yeah.
And it was a good day. And I was actually,
beautiful.
I was telling
So
people
beautiful.
that was actually the first time when he passed that this is the first time I've really talked about it like this.
Yeah.
But it was the first time I was like, I wish I hadn't moved back. I'm glad I moved back as friends and family, but no one up there knew Schnepp, like past the capacity of, I saw him. And that guy with the hair, I loved you too on the comic book show. But no one had the stories, and it was just kind of, I felt like on an island.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so when I got the invite to do this, I was like, all right, bought tickets, and I'm totally going down because I needed it.
Right. No, I know.
personally.
I mean, because you and I were in contact. Just let everybody know, I couldn't make it yesterday. I was with my kids. I just couldn't do it.
Totally.
But I was hearing all the stories and everything too. And you and I were in contact a lot during the time of. I mean, we always talk about it as far as when his passing was going, and I know how close you guys were because we were part of one of the best moments ever when Schnepp was on Movie Talk, and when we was talking about that Anna Kendrick Santa
I
Claus movie.
couldn't hold it in.
Wait, what happened?
I wonder if we can bring that, if we can find that clip.
Yeah,
It's so good. It was like, so basically they had this movie that they were announcing about Anna Kendrick, where she's like the daughter of Santa Claus or something. I can't remember what it was.
And then she has to like save Christmas or something like that, and then it goes to Schnepp first. He was like, oh, of course you went to me first. And then it was the way he so unapologetically started like
Destroying
comparing
it.
Yeah,
He's like, because this is a
Sorry,
movie.
just ripped it apart,
He's
yeah.
like, this is a movie everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like, sometimes when I'm on the toilet, I think about things like the plot of this movie, and the way he said it, I'm like, I'm kind of new. I'd only been working with Collider for a couple months, and I'm like, keep your shit together. But the more you think about that, the more you don't.
You have to, yeah.
And so I am in tears, and it's one of those downward spiral laughs where the more you laugh, the harder you laugh. The harder you laugh, you can't breathe.
You're
What's
trying
wrong
to
with
tell
it?
yourself not to, but you can't.
And I couldn't do it. I couldn't even talk. It was one of the it was one of those laughs you have once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And it happened that moment.
On the air, which is great.
on the air, live.
And
And
he was just the one. He was the best of us. He was one of the
For sure.
pure geeks. That's why the ultimate sweaty, and that's why you had the amount of people that I heard. Did you guys find it? It's just maybe it's just.
it's within the hour-long show we did.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
God, what is it? Oh wow, there's a computer behind me.
Yeah.
I think it's this one. I think Peter
All right.
Dinklage
They'll-
was
they'll-
on the thumbnail.
Yeah, they'll find it. That's it.
Yeah, one of John Schnepp's.
Okay, that's the one.
Yeah, we'll find it. We'll play the
We'll
moment
find
in a
it
second.
somewhere in there. But other than that, how
Yeah.
you guys been down here? The new place is way bigger.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I've
you
never
haven't
seen
been
this
there?
place.
Okay,
I've never
right.
seen this place.
Oh,
So I
wow.
walk in, I'm like, it's such an open plan.
Yeah, it's cool. It works, man. Yeah, everything's been going good. The podcast studio's been built out. The Collider Live's been going well. I assume you guys have worked together many times before, yes?
Yeah,
Roxy,
well,
Roxy
we
and I
were
did, yeah.
the part of the Screen Junkies Plus.
Yeah.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Launch.
Yeah, but back in the day,
John
that's-
saved my butt.
Yeah, that was when I first met you actually.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, Roxy's super cool. And one time, in the most random of chances, we had the same flight to Seattle once.
Oh,
Unrelated.
yeah.
It was the same flight, and we're like, let's get a burger or something at the airport. Let's get really
Maybe some
overpriced
booze, whatever.
airport
Yeah.
food right, and get a couple gin and tonics. So it
we
always
actually
makes
do.
the flight
We do
better.
actually have the moment
You
right
have
now.
the
so,
moment?
Yeah, let's
Oh my
play it.
God.
You can play it,
Oh,
turn
come
it
on.
up.
Have to go to me first. Hey, what's up, everybody? You know what? Sometimes when I have nothing to do, just sitting maybe on the toilet having some constipation, I think about things like, wonder what would happen if Santa, what if he couldn't get the sleigh and his son also was afraid? What would happen? What would happen?
So, if you watch this, are we doing commentary? Christian's trying to keep it together. I'm losing it right now.
I think we got his answer.
You're
And
supposed to.
Christian's trying to be a professional, and I'm just like, dude, hold your shit together.
Listen, but let's also call this what this is. This is
Christian's
gonna
trying to
be-
right the ship.
Trying to,
He's
yeah.
trying to bring it back on course.
Yeah. And I think they canceled this movie, by the way.
Yeah,
They canceled this movie. Yeah.
It's gonna be on the streaming service. I
Oh,
heard.
is it?
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
turn it off now. But anyway.
What even is it? Is Anna Kendrick
Yeah.
Santa?
She's Santa's daughter.
Daughter or something.
Saves Christmas or something.
Something like
Good
that.
for her.
This thing has been this thing's been like 2 years.
That's the thing I've brought up a couple times, right? Because it's like, all right, because like strong female characters are the representation, and like someone out there was like, this is good representation. I'm like, no, that's not what anyone's talking
Not for
about.
that.
Like, so
Yeah.
no.
We've seen it. I mean, it's either his brother saving Christmas, now his daughter, or his dog, or it's
Although,
his freaking
somebody-
elf.
What was that one?
Arthur's Christmas.
Arthur's amazing.
Great.
That's a great movie.
Underrated animated film.
Yeah.
Arthur's Christmas.
What?
Arthur's
Trust
Christmas
me,
is
it is-
great.
it
Isn't
is-
that the elf?
I
that
missed,
thing?
as
No.
a Jew, I missed so many of these.
But
I
you-
missed so many.
Do
You know
yourself
what,
a
though?
favor and see
I'll
it.
try.
You still saw Christmas Story, didn't you?
Yeah, it's
One
not
of the
Christmas
greatest of
Story.
all time.
Come on.
The only thing we have is Rugrats Hanukkah. That's what we got.
And the Adam Sandler animation.
Eight crazy
Oh
nights.
yeah,
Yeah, we have
yeah,
eight crazy
yeah,
nights.
that's true. What did he just? Oh, we just watched my daughter, and again we just watched Hotel Transylvania 3 again. I didn't mind the movie.
Yes, I
You
walked
like
out
it?
feeling nothing. That was like, because a lot of people were like, hey, it's really enjoyable. I was like, I guess I have no emotion. I just didn't. I didn't
Does
feel
it
a
have
thing.
to do with Christmas?
No. It would just because it reminded me of Adam Sandler. He's the voice. But the thing is that I wonder though if I was single without kids, if I would have cared.
Right.
Because I saw I saw it with my daughter who loved it. It made me like it more because she was so happy with her acting out the characters. And then when there's one scene in the theater she was terrified of, right? So yesterday when we're watching, she's like, I remember that. She's like, I don't know if I want to watch it. I go, you're not going to be scared this time because first of all, the screen's not as big.
Yeah, right.
And second of all, you know what's going to happen because you're emotionally attached to all the characters. You're not going to care. She's watching, she's like, I'm not scared at all. I'm like, yeah, it just comes with it because you don't know what the hell is going to happen with these characters. You're so like, I care. Now you know everybody lives.
You know what scared me as a kid?
What's that?
The Bumble from Rudolph.
Oh yeah.
Bumble.
God,
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
It's the abominable snow monster.
Oh,
you
yeah,
always
yeah,
hear
yeah.
his yell.
Yep.
And there's a scene where he's like, the Hermie's like, oh my God, because he hears the yell. He goes, hide your nose quick. And it pans up and the Bumble
Oh,
peeks
yeah.
over the
Right.
mountains. And I was like, I'm fucked, Mom. Thanks.
There's two versions of that though. That I always forget which one is the actual theatrical or not theatrical, but the one that was released. There's one where the Bumble turns good.
Yeah. He gets his teeth
Why are we
knocked
calling
out.
him the Bumble? That wasn't his name, was it?
yeah, it was
the
his
name.
name.
The
It was the
Bumble.
Bumble.
Well, he was the abominable snow monster,
Right.
and
Yeah.
Yukon Cornelius called him the Bumble.
Yeah.
And so that just became his name.
Ah,
Like you
know the names, man.
Oh,
Wow,
dude,
I love it.
I mean,
saw this
because
one.
I was there like Clockwork Orange and forced to watch it as a child, so now I know everything about
There
it,
he is.
including the
There-
Bumble.
He's right there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Never
And
knew
so-
he was called the
Fucking
Bumble.
asshole! Someone said that's not. Whoever's doing that, I know that's Adam, isn't it?
no, it's not Adam. It's probably Cobbster.
My
Which is the
God.
one that goes busy, busy, busy?
What is
Oh,
that?
that's
You know what I'm
that's
talking about?
another
That's
reindeer.
from no, that's Frosty. It's
Yeah.
Frosty
Frosty
Snowman.
Snowman.
Frosty
Busy, busy.
Yeah, that's what
Oh
it-
my God.
My
That haunts me.
My favorite thing with that is that because Frosty was the best belly hopper in the world.
Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah, that's what it was.
What a great song.
That was it. We're getting close to Christmas. We're only
Yeah.
about a month-
Well,
month
Christmas
away.
is already here.
Oh,
Have you
it's
seen
here.
all the commercials? It like literally happened the day
November
Halloween.
1st.
Yeah.
I saw a Christmas Christmas commercial on Halloween night.
Really?
Yeah.
They couldn't wait.
They couldn't wait.
Old
Whatever.
Instagram post I had was it was the Macy's opens a second store in the mall near where I live for Christmas. It was like last year, a couple years ago. It was October 31st or maybe even 29th, and that was open. And I took a picture. I was like, "Happy Halloween!"
I know.
From
Yeah.
Macy's.
People are getting ready. It's almost like the summer movie season, right? They start releasing movies.
Oh
in
yeah,
April.
yeah. Earlier and earlier now. Now
That's
it's
the truth.
I just
March.
feel bad for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. It's like the Jan Brady of holidays.
Yeah.
Nobody
I love
cares.
Thanksgiving.
I love it too.
You know what? Because Vanessa, my girlfriend Vanessa, who's the most wonderful girlfriend ever, Vanessa.
Been seeing you post a lot of pictures with her
She's
on
amazing.
Instagram. She's beautiful and seems
Yeah.
great.
You know
Just
what's
throwing
funny?
that out
You know
there.
the reason I don't is
No,
because
you have recently. You just did one the other day.
Yeah, recently I did.
Reason why you weren't
the
before
reason I
then.
didn't before.
Yeah.
I told her, I was like, I don't want you to think I'm hiding you from people, but like the internet's full of like, get it, Jahns, yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
right.
want to like you didn't sign up for that.
Yeah,
like
I did the
know
same
I'll
thing.
get that.
I'm with you. I don't
But-
put
and
my
so-
kids and stuff on there.
Yeah, and so I posted a couple because that picture in the park. I was like, all right, that's a cute fucking picture. It has to go up.
Yeah.
And then, but there's a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's really nice. That's I'm very happy for you." I was like, "Oh, that's like a very civil place."
Okay,
right
but
now."
as long as you're posting it not too often, if you start making them jealous because you're posting every day, being in love, people are bitter and they'll be like, "Oh, I hope you guys eat it."
No,
Suck-
no. Oh,
suck it.
it's still ruled by my
Yeah.
dogs, and no one's ever said that about them.
Yeah, you know, I have a question for you though when it comes to social media too, because you was about maybe a year ago. You bailed. You're gone from Twitter now, right?
It was actually in this is the beginning of summer.
About beginning
sometime.
of summertime. You
Oh,
were
you're
done.
done
What-
with Twitter?
I deleted my Twitter,
Deleted
yeah.
your account
Deleted
too.
it.
Yeah. When
Didn't
did that,
even notice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nice
See,
guy.
that's why. That's why. Like, what does it matter? You know?
No, there was like a situation behind that, right? I think I heard
Well, that's
something.
what I was
No,
like,
that's the thing is I haven't even addressed it because I'm
Yeah.
like, God, people are making up stories because like you can still like Google tweets and whatnot.
Yeah.
And yeah, people have a whole like the Star Wars fans killed him for this, and I'm like, none of that's true, but that's really cool that you're making a backstory.
Wait, I don't remember. I definitely heard something. I didn't see it, but you tweeted something that people were upset about.
Oh no, my last tweet was my last tweet ever was something about someone actually screen grabbed it, which is kind of cool that someone
Cared
for
that
some
much,
odd reason
yeah.
was like, I'm gonna screen grab that in case,
Right,
and
right.
I was like, oh yeah, cool, They're good for him. But I said something about because people are they adapt to their environments, and I was like, I just don't want to adapt to this.
Yeah.
And I was just out, and it was actually a GIF of Deadpool walking away. Because it was like a really cool GIF, but the screen grab doesn't show the GIF, and I'm like, it was cooler.
Right.
Get the
Just
gift,
where-
man.
right.
If you're gonna grab
You
it.
just woke
yeah,
up one morning and said, "Fuck this."
Yeah, I did make a video about like it was like, oh, Star Wars fans, Star Wars, there's tension. Here's kind of what I see, right?
Okay.
And so it got like a little bit of from people, but like I don't care.
Shocker.
But what I did see was that it had been building for a long time with me, but through this you kind of see that conversation, which conversations on Twitter aren't conversations, you know? Like no one on Twitter, this has never happened. No one on Twitter has ever been like, that's a very good point. My consciousness has been raised. It's
You
true.
have changed my
You've
mind
you've
for
just
the
summed
better.
up. You've just summed up politics.
Right. Yeah. Politics,
Yeah.
religion,
Yeah.
movies, like like everything is like pick this box or that box. You can only be in one box. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think people are a little more complex than that, than to be like you're in that box or
Yeah.
that box.
You would
It's
like to think.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like I can take like I'm an amalgamation of many
Right,
boxes.
So
you know?
but you Instagram you're fine with, like, because myself
Yeah.
I want to drop all of them.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
they're
yeah.
all the downfall of humanity. But so Instagram you're fine with because of why? Why?
Because you can vomit a picture, and no one's ever been like, I'm going to talk some mad, Instagram is where I get my ire. So it's still like, hey, here's a fun picture. And people are like, either like, that's cool. And it's like on Instagram more than other social media, people have the ability to be like, I hate that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep scrolling.
It's
and
also-
not give a fuck.
it's
You know what
also
I mean?
easy-
Like,
so no Facebook either. Facebook.
Facebook's
Instagram.
gone.
Instagram is easier to ignore as well too.
Yeah,
comment-wise.
it's not as
You're not as
so.
tagged and
We don't
stuff too, yeah.
have, and this is I really feel like there's a causality. We don't have a president who announces policy on that, so it didn't become this super relevant thing. Because in the
Right.
end, people are like, why did you quit Twitter? I'm like, why'd I quit the blog site I didn't like? I don't know.
Right.
I didn't give a shit.
just didn't
I'm
like it
sure in the
anymore.
'90s I quit many of
so
them.
The thing that was about short little things, and now people have threads all the time.
It's
I want to read a thread.
I respect it because I try to take a break off of it, but the reason why I couldn't is because of the promotion side of it.
I get it. I get that.
So the question that's kind of where I was going with you though too, because it was like over 100,000 followers.
I had 150.
150,000 followers.
Yeah.
Because you didn't even turn it into another account. You just straight out
No,
deleted it.
I was just like, I'm out. Like I don't need to come back.
So did you see? The answer could be no, but did you see a drop in any reviews when you weren't posting on Twitter anymore?
Well, here's what I did. I went to my analytics on YouTube, and it shows like where people see your videos, and it was 5% come from Twitter, and I was like, I'll take a 5% hit. And if they really want to find me, they'll find me.
But you did the research first.
Yeah.
Smart.
And so
you
like,
can really see that.
Yeah. On your YouTube videos, it shows the analytics of embedded sites, Facebook, the social media, and how people find you, subscriptions, suggested.
And have you noticed that 5% hit?
Not really. I mean, everyone's noticed a hit.
Yeah, on YouTube,
In the past year or so, it's like, oh my God, it's harder to get
Let's
out there.
talk about that. That's
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm deleting mine right now.
You should.
I really,
Are you really?
I think, I will after the show.
I don't think you can afford to do it.
I don't even want any part of it.
He grew to 150,000 followers first, so.
It's true.
Well, no,
It's true. On YouTube,
help.
I do have I was like, all right, on YouTube, I have the following. If I was a small channel, you're right. I mean, obviously, I would keep it because I did.
Yeah.
And so there was a thing where I'm like, I have momentum with people who want to see me enough to where if they want to see me, they'll see me.
Right.
They've already transferred over from your Twitter to your YouTube.
Right. No, I feel like not everyone who is on my Twitter is on YouTube, but everyone who follows me on, you know what I mean? Like it's like, or vice versa.
They know where to find you.
Yeah, they know where to find me. That's my point. So.
Do what you want, man.
Yeah.
I get this whole it's to promote things or whatever, but I think it's icky. I think the whole thing is icky, and it's become super icky, and I don't know if I want to be a part of something that's promoting this ickiness. You know, I mean,
Are you happier? Are you like? Do you feel it?
No,
do you actually feel
I'm serious.
better, lighter?
I did for the week I was off.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's you do need a break, and there's for that first. I'll be honest with you. For the first couple weeks, you're like, I'm fidgety, and it was just out of habit. You just check Twitter to see what's going on, and I'm like, what do I do now with fidgetiness?
Right.
And so you find other things though. Like for the couple, I'm like, God, is there an element of withdrawal that's happening? You know what I mean? 'Cause it's a different thing.
Looks like when you're at the
I
Genius
love
Bar and you
Twitter.
give them your phone for that little bit of amount of time.
Yeah.
You're sitting there. That's that episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia a couple weeks ago. Are you guys watching?
I mean,
No,
I
you guys
haven't
watch?
seen this.
No, I'm in a room full of people who don't watch. Oh,
No, I mean, I watched
so
It's Always Sunny
good.
but I've missed the last couple
So
seasons.
they're debating whether or not to get the update on their phone, and they're like, "D, how long is it gonna take?" She's like, "Oh, it's 30 minutes." They're like, "What are we gonna do for 30 minutes?"
I do the same
What do we
thing.
do? You know?
Yeah, that update comes in. I was like, wow, I better be asleep when this is going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I like interaction with human beings,
Yeah, it's
but I
weird.
like this. You
Right,
know, like
right.
Twitter's. I don't think is representative of interaction with human beings. And one time I called it's user-generated paparazzi.
Right.
You know, it's just like, why did this happen?
It is.
I'm like, because I don't know.
People,
Shut up.
People,
you know,
people
like,
have used it for everything on Twitter. It's like
Right.
there's insults, there's politics, there's panhandling, there's everything going on.
I
Everything at
love
all.
it. I love Twitter. Of
You do
all
not.
of the social media, I love
You
Twitter.
don't think it's dangerous?
Oh, I think it's very dangerous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So is my car.
It's fair. It's a fair
I
answer.
just,
Yeah.
as a
fair
father,
answer.
though,
License
I
to use Twitter.
as a father,
Yeah.
I don't like it because I see the times where I'm like, oh, did somebody like that? I don't want my kids to attach self-worth to likes, pokes, and comments.
Right.
I want them to be there, and I want them to converse with each other. I drive kids to school, and all three of them are sitting
phone.
on their phone, and it took me forever, and I finally broke down and got my son a phone, but he doesn't get to do it in the car with me.
Right.
We
Or
have
dinner.
conversation.
Or dinner.
I
you
like
know.
That's
that.
great.
That's
But it's
good.
just like, as I was looking at it, just always goes back to my kids. I'm like, do I want my daughter to be like, oh my God, nobody liked my photo, you know,
Right,
like
right,
this
right.
thing. It's just, I think it's created a lot of anxiety in people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think it has created this fidgety thing that we can't, you know. And I guess, you know, with my whopping 6,000 followers, I don't think I'm going to lose much if I drop it, and you know, I don't. You know, I don't want to be a part of the ickiness.
To each
Yeah.
their own, totally.
You know what's interesting about, like, you know, what you're going to lose and why is basically you have to do the checkers in this scale, checkers in that scale thing, where it's like, I mean, you might lose a lot, but is your happiness
gaining a lot?
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
gaining
Right.
more than what you're losing? And,
And
you
that's
know?
what the difference I think to you guys do too is the fact that from being on such a big platform that you have been for the last 8 years. That there's constant, not only on YouTube, but then when Twitter, when everybody thinks that they know you because they watch your videos every day.
Right.
And I can tell you from experience too, it wears on you because it's just like for one opinion that you have. Because you and I are similar in the fact where it's like, dude, I want to feel the same way that I do. You and I have had conversations. Yeah, but you and I have had conversations.
I know where you're going.
Where but we've sat down together, you and I, and we've been like, okay, we're on the opposite sides of this thing. Why do you think this?
Yeah.
And we talk it out.
Yeah.
You can't do that in as many characters on Twitter, right?
No.
Especially when you're screaming at someone.
Yeah, it's
Do a thread.
I do not have a thread.
Oh no, you should do a thread of Twitter. Then people can read a whole bunch of stuff.
I completely agree with you. It's the conversations on Twitter aren't, they're not conversations on Twitter, and it more or less, what I've seen also is if someone's like, hey, I have a big enough following, their response is a retweet comment, so their fans or their followers come after you, and it's like, that's not a conversation, it is a screaming match, and I like the back and forth of people have different opinions, but they have their reasons they feel that way, their reasons they think that way. And I'm just more interested in like how and why. Like I would tweet about things like how and why have people reached this conclusion about what, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, people try to goad you into it also because the thing is, the bigger following you have, the bigger opportunity they think they have, that if they can get you into a fight, that if you start responding to them, they're going to pick up followers, they're going to do this too, so people will come after you to try to goad you into doing it.
That's so interesting. It's kind of like any show where, I mean, not to use names, where you have to argue or fight about movies.
Right.
My problem on that is
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, my problem with it is I don't give a fuck. Like if someone's like, well, I think the best Batman is Val Kilmer, and someone's like, I think it's, Kevin Conroy.
You're so fucking wrong.
Yeah, and I'm like, if you like Kilmer shit, he was the shit in the 90s. Who cares? You know, like that's just kind of my mindset on it.
Yeah, that's you don't respond to that side. But so I do want to respond. I want to ask you about the YouTube thing though too, because we've been talking about that. It's kind of why we at Collider we've really shifted into podcasting, right? Because back in the day when we met, Mark and I were doing, I think around 2011 is when we started podcasting after doing Corolla and stuff too, and that's when you started coming on the show, and podcasting had like this big boom for a very long time, and then the YouTube boom happened right around the time when we all started, so around between the 2009 to 2012, that's when it was the YouTube
that's
boom.
when it was like, okay, now there's like legit things here, and artists have more art. It's like you can't be an artist and not have a YouTube channel.
Right, and exploded because when we started, there was me, there was you, there was me and Ellis, you, Stuckman, Grace Randolph, and maybe like Spill at the time, right? That was it. Now who doesn't do movie reviews?
Right.
Everybody does. And so, like you mentioned before, YouTube overall, not just with the movie space, big hits have been taken. Now, do you think that this is because of Twitch? Do you think this is because of oversaturation? What do you think the reason why there's been so much like a decline in YouTube content?
Content? Or
views.
Views per
content.
channel.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
I think it's a collection of things. I think there's a cornucopia of reasons, and I think all of it creates kind of a perfect storm. This chemical reaction that makes it happen. Like, YouTube changes their algorithm to where it's like, that's why I can't take a break. Like when Vanessa and I went to Europe, I was like, I need to have X amount of videos for the weekend.
Shot everything first.
Yeah, and then you just kind of like schedule it to release because, I mean, if you don't, then YouTube's like, oh shit, it's been a week, you're still relevant? It's like New Kids on the Block when they were like, I want to take a year break, and then everyone's like, all right, there's other things, And so it's like, you have the YouTube algorithm with that. You have more things that have popped up for entertainment. Like gamers are like, I can have a YouTube channel, but Twitch is my main thing, vice versa. You know, and there are so many ways to get your entertainment now, and so many more people doing it that it really has spread it thin. Right. It's kind of like it's in the words of Bilbo Baggins, like butter scraped over too much bread. Like it really is. Not talking about a human, mental state, but in this case, it's if you have a little piece of bread and a glob of butter, it takes up more of it. But if you have a piece of bread as big as this table and you spread it, you can barely taste it. You know, there's just more. There's more people and more things, more outlets. Right.
But you're a gamer too. You always have been. You do video game stuff too. Is YouTube? It's where you've been. It's where you've done the bread and butter. Do you want to? Have you thought about moving to different platforms? You have.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I've thought about Twitch, but then I was like, how to phrase this one? Games Or actually, the first line, I loved games before I loved movies.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like it was just I had a Nintendo and I was like, holy fuck, you're a plumber and you jump on mushrooms. And, oh my god, you know, it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
You fell into movie reviews.
Yeah, and but I more gravitated to movies because of just the experience of my life at the time. My parents were going through a divorce every weekend. I was like, I'm just going to go to a movie. Right. And then it just kind of became a thing. I saved my movie stubs after that, and then movies built. But, you know, like before that was Super Mario Brothers in 1980 or whatever.
Right.
So games are like this love that are not a job. Mm-hmm. And if I have a Twitch account, it's a job. I have to be on there like clockwork. People stream for like 9 hours a day.
Yeah,
I can't
it's
do
insane.
that. Like I lock in for like an hour or two and I'm like, I gotta do other things. That's why I suck at editing, because like I'll be editing and TV's on and I kind of, because I can't lock into something for that long. And also I make a dumb face. Like I'm a shit multitasker. Like even now I'm looking at you. Hi Reilly, you're here too. You know, Roxy, Ben Foster. How we all doing? You know?
He does look like Ben.
I'm telling you.
I watched, by the way.
All right, you tell me what's about in a little bit. Okay.
And, so I make this face when I game. I go like this. I'm instead of reading questions, I wouldn't be reading questions. People would be getting ignored because I have to lock into the game, and I catch myself making this face.
Yeah.
Do you want to see that for like an hour?
Right.
I'd watch it.
Let me ask you though.
So, naive though, real quick. It's Twitch is people just playing, people watching, people playing games.
Video games.
Not always.
No, not always. There's been switches to it.
Switches to Twitch.
There's a live squirrel feed on Twitch.
Yeah, you can do
So,
podcasting
there's
on
that.
Twitch too.
It's Kristian's favorite
there's a
one.
lot.
But the main
more.
aspect of it is the gaming.
That's where it started.
Yeah,
That's kinda like
that was
that's how it blew up.
I would say that most gamers now, though, don't even just stick to that. I would say that predominantly they're doing that, or they're talking about movies or TV or whatever while they're playing.
While they're playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would not talk about anything because
You
I'm a
just-
shit.
You just withdrew.
So you talked about that not being, that would be like being a job, but let's be honest, movie reviews is a job too. It just feels a little different for you.
Yeah, for some odd reason, it feels different. I think it's because, well, movies have been a job because I always worked at the movie theater, and so
Right.
movies were a job, and so screening the movie at night was a part of my job. But it's so routine, and like I've done it for so long. It's like, well, yeah, watching movies is part of the job. But it's fun, you know. Even when the movie's shit, the worst are the indifferent movies. I'm like, God, I just
I
kind
agree
of nothing
with
did.
that.
I can watch fucking Twilight and at least be like, this review is going to be awesome.
Right.
You know, like I'm going to
You get
massacre
good
this
material
thing.
out of it.
Are you nervous at all though? Because the people at home, I get this all the time where they're like, oh, YouTube views are going down, and then they're on to the next one. That's your livelihood. So does it concern you at all?
Every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Like I constantly think about, I'm like, nothing lasts forever.
Right.
And so one day this will be gone. What's my backup plan? You know? My backup plan is, of course, I'm going to move back to Burbank and beat people off behind dumpsters for money.
Yeah.
You should go.
Not too
you should-
shabby.
you
How
should-
much do you charge for that?
Bam.
You should go into acting. Is what you should do too. By the way.
You think so?
You should.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, your awesome spectacular stuff is. Some
That
of
was
my-
fun.
It was
That was
really good.
really
And we're-
fun.
Dude, and there are
Can you-
no actors in this town.
I
You
know.
should just
I know this.
jump right in.
I'll fall into it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never
Well,
seen Brett be so mad at something
know.
as you just telling Jeremy to go into
I want them to do
acting.
something together. The question I have for you is: we're going to go to break. Are you around for a little bit? You want to stick around and do movie news?
I'm
with us?
pretty hungry.
Are you gonna get some food?
So I
All right.
might have to go
So
because I
pick us
haven't
up
eaten
lunch.
for many. Right?
Well,
Yeah, bring it back. Like, here you go, sir.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy Jahns, find him on Instagram.
Yeah. That's the best part. I don't have to plug
I know.
shit. Because I like my Instagram
Yeah.
is kind of something I do. You can find me on YouTube.
Yeah, on the YouTubes and on Instagram. It was a great surprise to have you.
Yeah,
brother.
Love
I'm glad
having
to be
you,
here.
man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack
No,
anything.
glad you
I
did.
don't mean to be a
We
dick.
weren't
Glad you
talking
did.
about anything.
We'll take it.
Awesome.
That's
All right,
the
we're going
show.
to go to break. When we get back, we will talk about some movie news, and then Jordan Harbinger will be on at 11:30. Collide Live.
Hello there. No, it's not late to the party. That's actually from Obi-Wan Kenobi. You didn't know that? Well, you should, and now you do. Jedi Council, what is it? It's about Star Wars, obviously. It's Jedi Council. Every week, the latest and greatest in Star Wars movie news. Myself and Ken Knapsack, that's right, the pit boss himself. We have a guest on, and we talk about everything happening in the world of Star Wars. If it's the movie news, the TV news, canon news, comic books, games. And then we take questions from you guys on Facebook and Twitter. It's a lot of fun. We've been doing it for a couple of years now. I'm still excited talking about it. The fan base is coming together again. I believe it is. I think it is. I hope it is. And we're talking Star Wars, so we like you. That's right, all of you. If you're not a fan of Star Wars, come on over and join us every Thursday for Collider Jedi Council here on Collider Video. And we have an Apple Podcast feed or Podcast One, wherever you want to go if you listen to podcasts. And not only do you get Collider Jedi Council every week on Thursday, The Rule of Two with Mark Fernandez and Mark Reilly, that's on every week. I believe it drops on Wednesday. It's on one of these days. It's a good show. You should listen to it. I like it. I listen to it. I haven't listened to it once.
Hey everyone, Mark Ellis here. You know, when I'm not trying to clone dinosaurs or drinking at my neighborhood watering hole, I am probably hosting Collider Movie Talk. It's a flagship show here at Collider. I like to say that because I'm the host of it. It's every day, almost. It's 4 days a week, which is still pretty good, above 50%. You can watch it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 4 p.m. Los Angeles time is when we do it. It's live, so you can participate in the live chat room. Go ahead and give us your thoughts on every story we have coming because it's all the latest movie news of the day. Who did what at the box office? What horrible Redbox movies Bruce Willis signed on to? The DC, the Marvel, the Star Warses, the Lord of the Rings. Are they making new? I think it's a TV show, and we still might talk about it anyway because we love movies around here. It's myself and an expert panel of guests, including John Roca, Perry Nemiroff, Jeff Snyder, and other noted noters of note. You guys are going to love this show, and then we take your live Twitter questions at the end of the show at Collider Video. You can always use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk to get in touch with us, so subscribe right here to Collider Video. Check out Movie Talk, and check out the Collider Movie Talk podcast feed. We have a podcast feed now. You don't have to look at this handsomeness. You can just listen to it, whether you're driving to work, whether you're driving from work, or you don't have a job, but you have a basement and ears. You can listen to Collider Movie Talk's feed. You can get it at Apple Podcasts or on iTunes. You also get Mailbag. That's the show that's hosted by Perry Nemiroff, a lot more professionally than I run this pirate ship. That's our weekend show where she takes your letters. I don't know if you write them or you email them. You have to ask her. And Afterthoughts, hosted by Ryan Snelling and Jay Williams. I almost said Ryan Williams and Jay Snelling. Would anybody have known the difference? I certainly would. I would have felt bad about it because I'm a nice person, and that's why I host Collider Movie Talk. Check it out in video form or on our podcast feed.
Hi there. I see that you're enjoying Collider Live. After this show, why not check out Collider Games, where we play, well, games. We review games, we talk about things, anything that's going on in the gaming world, our opinions, news, all kinds of stuff. So check it out. If you like it, stick around and subscribe.
Hey everyone, John Roca here, one of the hosts for Collider Sports Time. That's our new show there on the Collider Sports Network. It's our flagship show, just like Collider Movie Talk. We get on, talk about a bunch of sports issues of the day and what is burning up social media, what topics are burning up social media. That's what we do on Collider Sports Time. I'm joined by my top 10 co-host, Matt Nost. Me and him, we welcome a bevy of guests every week to talk about NFL, the Major League Baseball playoffs, NHL, and the NBA, which is starting up soon. We're going to talk about that. We also get into UFC stuff, college football, all the stuff that's happening in the world of sports. We're going to cover it on Collider Sports Time. And we're going to take the time to break it all down and give our opinions and our unique takes and unfiltered thoughts on what we think about the sports news of the day. So don't forget to join us every week on Monday for the Collider Sports Time show on the Collider Sports Network. And don't forget to subscribe on the Collider Sports Network on YouTube and on the Collider Sports podcast feed. We're going to bring you all kinds of stuff. Hope to hear from you soon.
Hey everyone, I'm Scott Movie Mance, and just to let you know, if you already don't, every Friday here on Collider Video, I host a weekly film review series called Movie Review Talk. The title says it all. Every week I'm joined by two guest critics of my choice, and they're never the same. We review the new films. We pick something that's streaming that you might not know about, but is really great. And we pick a Blu-ray for something that you might have missed in theaters. It is fun. It is infectious. It is the Citizen Kane of movie review shows, and it's only right here on Collider with this guy, Scott Movie Mance, Mr. Movie Release Dates himself. Check it out every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, only on Collider Video.
Gladiator. Okay, that makes sense. Considering we're going to be talking about Gladiator 2 in a second. It's Collider Live. What a nice surprise that was getting Jeremy in here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That was awesome. I thought that like you knew that he was coming, but then you clearly didn't.
No, I didn't.
Oh, and Mark's back.
Sit over there?
Whatever you want.
All right. You all right?
Yeah, are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
I can talk about it.
Yeah,
it's
what
fine.
is it?
They are testing the fire alarms at my apartment, and Cal is bouncing
Going
off
nuts.
the walls. He's pissing all over the floors. They didn't tell us. They said it was going to be tomorrow. I was going to ask to bring him in for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But they decided to do it today because that's what they fucking do there. They're the fucking idiots
You hate-
over there.
you hate that
I
before.
hate my fucking apartment complex because they are so ridiculously unorganized.
Yeah.
And this is what they do. This is what they do. They go, oh, yeah, we're going to test the fire alarms. And I look at it and I go, oh, our building is tomorrow.
Right.
Great. So I'm going to ask and see if I can bring Cal in because I know this is what happens. And then what do? They test him today.
Right. It is super loud and they just scare
It's
the shit
so
out of him. Yeah.
loud
Right.
that
It's
I
like
guess
a dog whistle times 1,000.
Yes. So Cal is shaking.
Right.
He is pissing all over the floor.
Cal's an
and,
older dog now.
And my fiance has a huge meeting that she's got to go to, and she doesn't know what to do. So she's upset right now, and she's like, "You have to come pick him up." And I'm like, "Ha ha ha!
Right.
I'm in the middle of a live show. We have our guests coming in.
Right.
There's other things that I have to do. It's just fucking up my day right now."
Right. All right.
So
What are we gonna do?
I have no idea actually.
Did you yell
what
at
to
the
do.
Did you yell at the apartment or you're
No,
really
I
doing
want
it?
to.
Right.
I just don't know.
Can we do it live?
Cobbster,
on
get
air?
him on the air. No.
Yeah, I know, right?
Do you
Oh, you don't
No,
want to
no,
see me
no, I don't want you to do that
yell
on the
because
air.
I will.
Can she bring Cal here?
No, she's going the
She's gotta go
opposite
the other
way,
way.
and
Yeah.
she's got a big thing. So I'm
Right.
I'm
It's
sitting
just
here right now.
Life's problems.
Yeah, not knowing what to do.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, all
I
right.
think we can switch to the. You have to look at the computer, right?
Yeah,
For news
yeah.
and stuff.
All right, cool. All right, well, that's unfortunate. We'll have to figure that out afterwards.
Yeah, we'll
be
figure it
done.
out. I
But,
might do it.
Yeah, your apartment complex sucks. You need to get out of there.
Believe me.
Before we get into movie news, we didn't get a chance to finish because we had a nice interruption.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So back to the afterthoughts thing.
Oh yeah.
Because we didn't get a chance.
We don't need to bring it down.
No. Well, no, because you were asking questions.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
had your
yeah.
questions. I want
Let
to
me
get to
pull
your
up.
questions, and then we will get those guys on the phone for you after the show.
So I was talking about how they get upset that we interrupt, but
Oh,
then
right.
they get upset that we don't bring up things, and sometimes it doesn't go in the flow of the conversation. So, for example, with Matthew Lillard bringing up Between the Sheets,
Right.
Makuga and I looked at each other. We fist bumped.
Yeah, they did too, and I noticed it, but it was for that. It's the exact reason you're
But-
talking about. I wasn't about to
Say, oh, Between the Sheets used to be the name
just
of.
because it went right over Matthew Lillard's head.
Right.
And I think that I don't think that they saw or maybe paid attention to the fact that you guys were
We
clearly
acknowledge
addressing
it.
it.
Yeah.
I heard it, but I wasn't about to interrupt
Totally,
the interview.
and that's the thing. So it's like a fine line between sometimes you interrupt and you know that it's going to be a good thing, and sometimes I don't know. I don't know
Right.
whether you think we should do more, less, like what is the deal with that one? But they were giving us a hard time, and
I
then
don't think you interrupt on that because he was on a.
I agree.
I wouldn't.
He was
no,
on
no.
a tangent.
I agree.
He was
there was
talking
no
about
way I was
something.
about to interrupt. I think that they more or less were just talking about how they wished it was acknowledged, and it was, but just not publicly. Really, it was acknowledged.
Dong take.
And then there are two other things. One of them we won't talk about on air
Yeah,
that I had a big point about.
right.
But then the other one, they were asking how much does Ben know that I bring him up on air?
Oh, yeah,
right?
that's a good question.
They're talking about
That's-
that.
I think that's a good
wondered
question.
that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really good question. First of all, he listens to the show a lot.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, a lot, because he thinks we're funny.
Yeah.
And he likes it. And
like
he's
that
a
Ben baby.
podcaster.
Yeah.
And he's a great
It's
kid.
not his birthday today, Cobbster. Cut it out.
No, it's
Is it
not.
his birthday?
No.
If it's his birthday, play it. But if not,
June, but that would have been amazing.
No. All right,
So-
well, 6 months too late, or whatever it is.
We talk about it all the time. And I think that with you and your wife, or you and your fiance, or you and your wife, they aren't necessarily signed up for the same thing he's signed up for, because he's in this exact same space.
Right.
So it's a very different thing if I had a significant other who had no interest in the entertainment industry.
Like Jeremy was just talking about.
Right.
Right.
Then I doubt it would come up as much. But not only is he in this space, but the people that are listening to the show know him. So
Right.
it's more interesting content too. And I've never said anything that.
He's never gotten upset with you for saying anything. on
No,
the
because
air.
we talked about it beforehand. And I was like, I'm going to talk about this on air. And he was like, okay, cool.
That's great.
Same.
Yeah.
So there have been times where I've felt like I have overstepped a little bit. and those are emotional times, when you get mad about something, sad about something. And I have learned how hard it is to come back when the entire world knows what you guys are going through.
Right.
So, when Ben broke up with me a few months ago, and now we're trying to sort things out, it really fucked me up that not the entire world, because who the fuck am I, but that my 25,000 followers all had an opinion on it.
Right.
And I'm getting so many tweets being like, dump the piece of shit, we hate him, how could he do this to you? And so many tweets being like, you didn't deserve to be with him in the first place.
Right.
He's so much hotter than you, or
and
whatever.
And with that, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, is that I completely feel for you there, too. But imagine if you're like
I was
Jennifer
Ariana Grande,
Grande and Pete Davidson, right?
Exactly. So
she broke her silence.
It's a tiny. Good point.
So their song, right?
Yeah. She broke her silence.
It's a tiny bit of what those people are chasing.
So Ben needs to do a song about you, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Right.
And he's an amazing songwriter. That's actually
Is he
true.
really?
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Plays
Yeah,
the
he used to be in a
guitar.
band. That's right. Yeah,
he's
I remember
really
that.
good.
I know that.
But I signed up for that, so I'm not bitching about it. I'm
Right.
just saying it made it hard for me to decide, okay, I want to give this guy another shot.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's the type of stuff that they do on their show that is very beneficial. Get you talking about that, because that's something I wanted to know.
Yeah.
That's something I know that I'm not going to yell at him because I know he's dealing with his apartment. But when it comes to certain things that they bring up, I think that that's what I wanted from the show. Like because they are so much more in their element. Not that they weren't when they were talking about just Collider stuff, but when they're talking about this stuff, because they can talk about the guests, and I respected a lot of stuff that they were talking about. With, for example, like Snelling was saying, Adi Shankar that's not his favorite type of guest.
Yeah.
Just not, he's like, I appreciate that the interview was there and everything too, but for me, it just doesn't speak to him, and I don't expect every guest to speak to everyone. So I like that point of view.
Can I tell you, I loved him as a guest, which was,
Shankar?
I think, I thought he was an amazing guest on this show.
I did too.
And it's kind of wild because I had going into it, I had no frame of reference as opposed to them who had listened to him on Schmoes, over on Screen Junkies, all over the place. And he takes his time, and for podcasts it is a little challenging sometimes when somebody is as thoughtful as he is and takes their time, but I thought he had really interesting things to say.
I did too, and I really was pretty fascinated with him the first time I got to talk to him on Schmoes last year. And I knew what I was in for, because he does take those long pauses. And if you see when I'm interviewing him, if he took them too long, I would jump in and ask another follow-up question because I know that's hard for listeners when they're waiting for it. And then he can come in with his thought. I thought the guys were right. I thought Snyder delivered great insight, asked some great questions.
Snyder's very good at his job.
He is. And then Jim Cummings the next day too. For me, that did a lot for me nostalgia-wise, but I understand on their side, or maybe nostalgia didn't work for them, right? But they loved the Matthew Lillard, which I think Matthew Lillard is probably one of my favorite guests we've ever had on this show.
He loved Matthew Lillard.
I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm saying I agree with that side too. So that that's the thing of what the guys do. They'll break in, but they don't just like, oh, so I didn't watch it or fast forward it. That's not what they're doing. They're listening to the interview. They're going through our conversations. Now, the thing, again, not saying what it is, but Snelling, I guess, said something on the show.
So I haven't finished the episode yet because Snelling said something that made me so mad and upset that I had to turn it off.
Okay.
So I still have a little bit left to listen to when I'm in after I speak to them personally.
Right, and that's what.
And by them, I only mean them because they were both in the room, but really it was Snelling.
Okay, and that's respected too. And I think because of the last time what happened though too, because you said I want to talk about it in the air, and I said, well, let's maybe talk to them first about it. DEFCON 5.
Yeah, it's bad.
All right. Okay. Riley's gonna take up, try to figure out what's going on.
Good luck.
With this. All right. So we might lose Reilly for the rest of the show. But
we love
anyway,
you.
I know. Anyway, the point is you're going to get on the phone with them because they're still learning you the same way you're still learning them, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I guess this is a learning curve, although I just think it's a stupidity thing. But
we'll see. We'll see. We'll have a conversation with it. But again, the show is on the Collider Live feed. It is on. It was last episode was the last one you'll find on the Movie Talk feed.
Can I tell you the truth?
Yeah.
I have a really hard time finding it.
On the Collider Live feed?
Yeah, I have a really hard time with the feeds.
How?
I can't figure because I type in Afterthoughts and it doesn't show up.
No, you just kind of because
so
you
I type
the feed.
Collider Live Afterthoughts, it doesn't show up.
All you got to do is Collider Live.
So then I did, but I thought it was on Fridays, but I guess it was on Thursday, and
This
so
week was
it was hard to
Thursday.
find
Right.
it because I was looking for the date.
I guess you got to look at the title of the episode. Yeah, because it just says maybe what they should do first is they title it. I think the ironic thing is they always talk about their titles. I actually think it'd probably be beneficial to them if they have afterthoughts first in their title, and then talk about because I think that
it's buried.
Well, because what they said was a wild Christian appears, whatever the name of the episode was, which is funny, but I think it should be afterthoughts because it's on.
Sometimes by the time it gets to afterthoughts, instead it's ...
Yeah.
So I have to click into the thing to see what it actually is.
It's a good note, so we should probably.
And I'm looking for
first.
it. Imagine if you just want to stumble upon something.
Right.
And we're back for how to name your podcast.
It's the truth. Yeah.
It really matters.
It does, and that's what they talk about all the time. But the bad news is Reilly left with all the movie news.
No.
Yeah. So
I've got it all.
I can make some shit up.
I think we have some.
Yeah, Brett, make some.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. What's going on in the latest?
Oh
Who got
man,
cast?
there's some big. Well, I mentioned the Ariana Grande thing, right?
Yeah.
What did she say, by the way?
She wrote kind of. It didn't sound as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it was kind of talking about her relationships and mentioning four of her top boyfriends, including Pete Davidson. Something about and next was the end of the line of like I'm on to the next. I appreciate what I learned from being with you, and I'm on to the next.
I'd date her.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Not Davidson though.
No.
I like Pete Davidson. He got a lot of shit over the weekend for the Saturday Night Live joke he told about the Republican senator.
I didn't hear it.
Or was he senator? I'm not sure.
Eye patch or something.
So the guy, I believe is a senator who's running. He has a patch because he lost his eye in war. Mm-hmm. So Pete Davidson, the first joke I thought was kind of funny, to be honest, where he just says he's like, this guy's running for office. He's not a hitman in a porno, which I thought it was funny, and he laughed through it. And you could have gotten away with that one, but then he's like, and then I think he improv'd afterwards, like, I know he like lost his eye in war or whatever, and I'm like, that was ugly. I
don't even like the first one very much, only because I didn't think it's that funny.
It's just when you see the actual picture and it goes with the joke, it worked. But it's like, that one you just kind of, you're just making, it's just kind of a crack of the joke. But I can still understand people getting, a little miffed on it. But this is the second one that bothered me, too. And I'm not coming from a left or a right side. I just think that
it was a little disrespectful.
My dad fought in the war, and it's like.
Which war?
Vietnam, and so
does he talk about it?
He will, yeah. If you talk to him, he will. He got shot and with the Purple Heart, and he was
like growing up. Would he tell you about it, or not until you were an adult?
All the time. It was the thing with my dad. The main thing was funny because when I went home for my brother in August, my dad was telling me stories I didn't know. I know my dad almost drowned when
at war.
No, when he got back from war, he had just survived all this stuff in war. He led men platoons and everything too, right? And then he got caught in this like whirlwind thing. It was a little whirlpool that took him out, and he couldn't swim. Oh, wow. And you're supposed to just let this thing take you out, but he was trying to go against it and exhausted him. And he was calling out to this guy to help him. The guy's like, if I go in there, I'm going out with you.
It's in the ocean. It's
in the ocean, yeah. So then he
undertow.
Yes, and it was like solid, right? And literally had just gotten back from war, been back for just a little bit, and he's like, I just survived Vietnam, and this is how I'm gonna die. Like it brought him down. Like he was, so he waves up to this one guy. The guy's like, I can't help you because what am I gonna? It'll get me. But that guy went up getting help. This is actually a really funny story inside of the thing. My dad lived, obviously, but like that's why it's funny. But he goes and he's about to drown, and then finally people kind of got him, picked him up. He had to go. He was in the hospital for like 3 weeks and like lost a lot of weight, everything too. But while he was and they dragged him out to like this club. It's like really exclusive club where they were. And he says he'll never forget this. But he was out of it, completely gone. This couldn't breathe. And this guy, old man, comes up to me and he's like, "Are you a member of this club?" And my dad, exhausted, goes, "Fuck you."
That's amazing.
And he was just in the.
Are you a member of this club?
It was like, and I said it was something out of a movie, like the fact that happened. But I don't know how we got there. But but Pete Davidson. So when he said that about the guy, he fought in war, whatever.
Yeah.
That to me was a very
Fighting
millennial.
war is not, or
it's a very
whatever.
millennial move, to be honest with you. I thought it was just kind of like it was one of these things where it doesn't seem that real to you, so you just say like whatever. I know he's goofing around, he's a comedian. I get it more than anyone else too, but that's why I said that the picture joke was a joke and it was funny and you could get offended by it, but it worked. It was the improv thing of just nonchalantly saying, "Who cares? I don't care if you think about that as politics or not. He was out there fighting for us, and he lost his eye in the war. So I think to me it was kind of a shitty move. But that's my personal opinion on it. I know some people say joke's a joke. He's just fucking around, but yeah, that's just where I stand on it. So, and I like Pete Davidson. I like him a lot. I've talked to him before on when he used to be on Twitter. He was going to come on Schmoes. He's friends with another friend of mine, and I like.
He's not on Twitter anymore?
No, he left Twitter a while ago. I think he came back for a little bit, but I also respect him for coming out about his mental health issues and things of this thing was really public with him and Ariana Grande.
Can I ask you something just on this Twitter subject, just because we don't have the movie news in front of us, and I know it all, but I don't want.
I can't wait to get to it from you.
But so do you think you can do this sort of thing and not utilize social media? That is my question.
Do what sort of thing?
Do like something like this or hosting or anything?
It's hard.
And not because people did things like became actors and stuff like that without this sort of aspect before.
But the difference is now they can't. Vin Diesel, The Rock have made their careers 10 times more because of social media.
And there's a difference between actors who the whole thing around them is mystique. Not knowing exactly who they are, because when they're playing roles, that can be very helpful. And being a personality who people want on 24/7. One of my best friends, who Kristian knows very well, Sarah Stretton, is super duper anti-social media. Just won't get on it.
Yeah, we forced her on it.
She won't, and she's never used it.
Right.
And I think that her career has taken a massive hit because of it.
Right.
Because she will not play the game, and total respect to her. And if something hits for her, it won't matter. But it's so much harder to get something to hit when you can't show people what happened.
I'll tell you.
Sorry.
Let Roxy finish her thought, and then you can give an update.
When you can't show people that you have engagement, like I just booked something legitimately because they saw how many followers I had and how many people are responding to that. And so it's really hard when you don't have that. It's more challenging.
Yes, that's the point, though. Because going back to what you were asking about back in the day, people used to just get jobs because of talent stuff too, but there was no reference, right? Now there is a reference to people all the time, especially here. Fernandez will ask, how many followers do they have?
Yeah.
What's their social media like? Because
it matters for viewers.
Because that's right. It's audience.
Yeah.
So it's audience. So is it going to transfer over? So if we bring in somebody with 100,000 followers, are 20,000 of those followers going to come in if we make them a part of the show? It's part of it. It's the same thing. That's why you don't want to. I wouldn't shut down your.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't use it anyway, so I mean, I'm not really doing.
You used to.
Yeah, I tried, and it's just like I don't. It's nothing. And I will say one thing before anybody, a lot of people have said some wonderful things to me, and I really appreciate all the fans who have, sent me, added me with wonderful things. The ones that not so wonderful,
you
I
get
don't
literally
appreciate.
the nicest things I've ever seen anybody get said to them on social media.
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
but you do. But the ones that scream the loudest hurt the ears the most.
Well, yeah, I'm not really. You know what? And I've had nothing in that. A couple of them to me, I was so new to it, it was a big deal. But again, that's not. I don't care about the stuff towards me. It's the stuff I see to other people and the stuff like that's. I take on other people's, and then I go back to my children. But the thing is that I don't know. I don't know how to get myself into it without being attached to it and looking at
being
it
consumed.
and being consumed by it. And that's the thing. Every time that I've tried to move forward with it, I get consumed by it, and I'm checking it, and and I've got two wonderful children right here, and I'm over here looking at did more people like my picture of me and so that to me it just made me feel icky, and I don't know.
Totally get that.
It's something that I've been fighting with, and I probably won't delete it, but I don't know how to engage with it in a healthy way. And I think that's something that that people need to teach that as kids are growing up. There needs to be workshops about how
honestly,
to healthy.
People are talking about implementing this in schools on etiquette with social media and bullying and talking to people and what's appropriate and what's not. And I think that's a legitimate question that you're asking. I obviously don't have the answers, but for me personally, I have, and this sounds so dumb, I have designated times for myself now.
That's not dumb.
I will put my phone. If Ben and I are watching a movie on the couch and we've decided we really want to pay attention, it's not something stupid, whatever it is, or we're having a serious conversation, I know myself. I physically get up. I put my phone in the other room, and then I come back to have that, because if it's near me, Kristian knows this from doing the show with me, I literally sit here. I'm not even doing anything. I click the button.
That's it.
I'll click the button, and then I click the button. I don't even give a fuck what's going on.
Exactly.
But I can't help it because I'm old school with the home button still.
I want to piece that out.
I can't. I click the button.
Click the button.
But I can't even help it because it's there.
Oh, exactly.
And so I have to legitimately designate time for that, and I'll be like, okay, I've got 45 minutes that I can use today, and that's what I got.
Yeah, I did a bunch of behavioral studies because I'm a psych major, and towards the end of my studying, we started learning about different ways people behave because of social media and because of like who uses it, who doesn't, and I think they're starting to implement that more and more. I don't remember if it was actually in a actual textbook, but I believe at this point now I'm sure it is.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Huge part of the world.
Yeah.
It's bad as drugs. I mean, it's something that is like.
Sure,
really
I do want to
bothering
move on though because we got two things.
No.
We didn't hit our. We
need to talk about more serious
Are you
topics.
not entertained?
Brett told us all about the movie news. Brett
you,
told us
Cobbster.
everything.
Yeah, we got to get to. We got to get to Gladiator 2 because we titled the damn thing, and I do want to talk about it. And Reilly told me about this on Friday that Gladiator 2 is happening. It is a prequel or sequel.
Right now, they're writing the sequel. The article said it's going to be the little kid grown up.
Yeah.
Now the idea then would be he's in a powerful family.
Yep.
We know that from the movie. It sounds like then it will follow the same beats of Gladiator, where then he becomes the Gladiator. So what happens there? Like he grows up, he's a part of the power system there in Rome, and then he's betrayed and put into gladiator combat. Just why?
What year was Gladiator?
2000.
2000.
Okay.
Yes.
So it basically, instead of doing a reboot, a remake, they're doing a sequel
with Ridley Scott.
Do you remember
directing?
Yeah.
Do you remember the old rumor that it was like he was going to? They actually wrote a script. It was like Maximus actually kind of comes back.
What, like
somehow
vision or something?
No, like it's some
Spoilers,
kind
by
of
the way.
supernatural kind of thing. Comes back, and that there was this batshit crazy idea that he kept coming back in like some of the most famous battles, like World War II,
Like Lion
and
King?
like keeps like showing
Remember
up.
who you are.
Yeah, something weird like that.
I
like
hate that.
yeah, it was. And rightly so. Everybody was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And it never happened. Kind of went away, and then this happened.
Look, this is one of those things that there's a couple ways to approach it or look at it, right? The one is that it's Ridley Scott just kind of grasping at straws just because he hasn't really hit it. The Martian hit, right?
Right.
But before that, his movies were missing left and right. Some people liked what was the Prometheus?
Prometheus is great.
I like Prometheus
a lot of people like it a lot. Others don't, and it's a well-made movie. But he hasn't had like those big hits the same like the first Gladiator, right? So you can look at it as just kind of grasping at straws, trying to get a hold on this thing. The other thing is maybe you could do it right depending on how you set it and which part of Rome, right? And then if you have who is the emperor at the time when they're doing it? Who's your cast? Who's your gladiator? You know, is it going to be kind of standard? The first person you think of is Tom Hardy, right? Is it Tom Hardy as the gladiator? Is it someone else as the gladiator? Gyllenhaal, maybe. But the question is how? How are they going to do it? How is it going to be executed? You don't want it to follow the same beats, but there are things without Roman history that they could play into it that could make it
Sounds
work.
like you kind of like it.
I like the idea of it, but it also would not shock me if it's boring, terrible, rehashed.
What if it wasn't a sequel? What if it was just a different movie?
I think it certainly will be a different movie. I think it's just going to happen to have that one character who years later, I don't think it's going to tie into the events of like what Maximus does. It's just going to be part of that universe. And I'm cool with that because it doesn't have to necessarily, it just kind of carries on.
It's just such a great movie. It's just so perfect that...
It won't taint it though. I don't think it's going to taint the first one. I mean, I don't think you can ruin the
these
first
sequels
one.
and remakes even too. It's like some people get up in arms and it's like you always forget. It's like, well, that original movie is always going to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, to your point, there's two things. Can a movie like this work without Russell Crowe? Because, he's kind of indelible in the role. Two, I like the idea of it not being tied, that we just focus on another gladiator. I mean, what if it's just another gladiator
They should title it that.
Just another gladiator.
Another gladiator.
And it's like the kid all grew up. He's like,
yeah, just another gladiator. But I think that they can do it. I think it can work. I think it can tie into it.
Do you like Ridley Scott being at the helm of it?
Normally, the answer, 10 years ago, the answer would be like, Hell yes.
Duh.
He's like 1 for like 5 in my opinion.
Did people like his last one, the Christopher Plummer replacement movie? All the Money in the World.
All the Money in the World.
And he was nominated, wasn't he? I thought he did a great job with that.
Okay. That one I give a mulligan to because of the circumstances around it. Because of what happened.
Unbelievable what he was able to do.
What he's able to do around it. I don't really include that in the movies. But if you go back to it was the last Alien movie.
Alien Covenant.
Which I actually like, but it's not great. Can you give me a list of his last like 5 movies?
I know it's Covenant,
Searching.
Martian, Prometheus.
What's the
All
one
the
with
Money in the World?
Salesman. What's the horrible one with Fassbender?
Is that the one where Cameron Diaz has sex with the car?
Counselor?
The Counselor.
Counselor.
That was
Yeah.
atrocious.
I missed that.
Yeah, that was
You have
real
never
bad.
you have never been lucky. I was going to make a joke that I don't think it would have worked. But let's
Should we try it?
Robin
or no?
Hood.
I like Roxy.
Did you like Robin?
I was going to say
We should make
if
another
you saw that
Robin.
movie, you wish you would have gotten kidnapped.
No, it's good. See, it's not too soon for you to make jokes.
I would have had. Let's see. All the Money in the World. We're not going to count. Alien Covenant, The Martian, Exodus not great. Counselor, not good. Prometheus, jury's out.
I like it.
Robin Hood, not good. Body of Lies, not great. American Gangster's okay. A Good Year, which one's that?
Tiger Place.
Russell Crowe and,
right,
Diane Lane, I want to say.
Yeah. Kingdom of Heaven, I guess you got to see the director's cut. Matchstick Men, Black Hawk Down.
Matchstick Men's not
Black
bad.
Hawk Down, I forgot he did Hannibal.
Yeah.
But
You didn't like
Hannibal.
Black Hawk Down?
I loved it.
Oh.
So Black Hawk Down is one of the last like really great ones that he did. So, and I guess I got to see the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven because everybody raves about it.
I thought All the Money in the World was great.
I got to see it. I got to see that one. But
Great.
Legend. Oh man, I'd like to see him do another fantasy movie.
Thelma and Louise.
I'd like for him to just do a fantasy movie. That might be fun.
no,
Another
no.
sci-fi, but
I think
original.
it's
He's
his
going back
last
to the
few
well.
years is better than you thought it was.
Go
Kristian.
back. Go back down again. Go back down all the way back, all the way down. Yes. So no, to the last couple
Alex, Jesus Christ, dude, come on.
Alien Covenant, not great. Martian,
Okay,
really good.
but start with All the Money in the World. All the Money in the World, really good. Martian, really good. Counselor, favorite movie ever.
Yeah, right.
No,
That's
didn't
it.
see Prometheus, good.
Nah. Yeah, see, I don't love Prometheus. I don't think Prometheus
Hannibal.
is that great.
I really like Hannibal.
Yeah, Hannibal's all the way up.
But that's
2001.
2001.
I know. But I
So
like it.
from 2008, he's got Body of Lies 0 for 1, Robin Hood 0 for 2, Prometheus we'll call a squash. All right. Oh, so still 0 for 2.
Why are we calling him squash?
Because it's mixed, right? It's not like a.
What's the Rotten Tomatoes score?
Prometheus? It's a good
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
I think
All
a
right,
lot
that's
more
fair.
people have come around to Prometheus post
Let's see.
its.
While
its-
we're looking
its-
that up, did everything get sorted out with Cal?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Friend of the show, Rachel Silverstreeny, is going to go pick up Cal.
Awesome.
That's very nice.
73. I don't think it's a wash. Certified freight.
Yeah, but so all right, fine. You want to say that then? Bring up Indiana
Not if it
Jones.
pisses you off.
Put up Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Oh no.
I'm gonna guess and say
Rotten
56.
Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes.
55.
Oh, it is fresh. Oh.
Hold on. This is why this argument is wash.
Oh no.
77%. It's a wash. It's a wash.
Really?
So yeah.
Yeah, but the
77%.
audience score.
Yeah.
Wow,
let's see.
how did that happen?
That's what I'm saying because people. I don't know what happened. 208 people like that movie. All
lot of-
208 of those critics
A lot
are
of
no longer
young new
alive.
critics.
or they're not alive.
Wait, can we scroll down to some of those critics, see if we know any of them?
Who is? Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, who's liking that
Who
movie?
likes that movie? Scott Manson's on there. He's not long in the studio anymore. Richard Roper liked it.
No.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm very upset by that.
Peter Rayner. Keep going all the way down.
Huh.
Yeah,
Dana
Amy
Stevens.
Nicholson. She knows.
Yeah, Amy gave it a shit.
Zachy,
I don't keep going all the way down. Yeah, I don't know these people.
No.
Go to view all the critic reviews. I'm very curious now for this Crystal Skull.
This is hysterical.
Yeah, I'm just going to know if there's anybody in here because I'm gonna grill them on it.
Yeah, 100%.
I guess I liked it. Oh wait, that's not my Christian.
Different.
Okay.
Oh, it's not even Danish
That's
Christian.
it. See, all these people, they're not even they're not even around anymore. Any of these people.
No, I don't know who any of them are.
Anyway,
All their careers
BS.
ended after they.
It's true. It's all Spielberg's friends.
Oh, brutal.
Anyway, so the answer to the question is I'm very interested in seeing it. I want to check out what happens and how Ridley Scott's going to continue this universe. I'll be excited to see how they do it, and I'm rooting for it.
It's
and
not
I want
a bad idea.
No, and I want Hans Zimmer to come back and do the music. I love that score.
Although if Hans Zimmer needs to take time off, then we're okay with Hans Zimmer taking time off. Anybody who
callback.
needs to.
I like the call back there. All right. I think is our guest here?
I don't know.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah,
Really
sorry.
rattled, huh?
That rattled me. I apologize.
That's
it
so nice
really
of Rachel,
rattled
though.
me. Yeah.
It's very nice, Rachel.
Yeah,
Okay, listen, we're gonna
Friendship.
go to break here. When we get back, we believe and we hope that our guest Jordan Harbinger is here. Thank you to everyone who's listening right now, and we will be back in just a second. Hello, Collider fans. I'm Kristian Harloff, and you see my stupid name in the background because that's my other show. It's One-on-One with me, Kristian Harloff. What the hell is it? I just sit down and talk to people. I literally just sit down and talk to people about what the hell's going on in their lives and their careers, and it's a long-form interview show. Originally, it aired on Collider Video as far as the YouTube channel goes, but we moved it on over, and it's on the Collider Video podcast, Collider Podcast, on YouTube. Go on over there if you want to see the video and to see the pretty faces that I'm talking to. Had some great guests over the past. And we're going to have a lot more. And there's going to be people that maybe some celebrities or actors and actresses, producers, writers, all that stuff. But there's also a lot of the people that you know around here. I could have Cobbster on there. I could have Jeff Snyder, John Roca, Mark Reilly, Roxy Striar, whoever. And I'm going to find out more about them. Long form, and also go to Apple Podcasts and check out the One-on-One feed with Kristian Harloff. And not only is my show on there, Mark Reilly, the Reilly Roundtable, which is another sit-down, long-form interview show, that's also there. And when Steve Frosty Weintraub talks to Kevin Smith or George Takei, that's going to be on that podcast feed also. So if you're taking a long drive and you like those long-form interviews, pop on the One-on-One with Kristian Harloff, give it a rate, comment, do all that because it helps the show and it makes Podcast One go, hey, you know what? Those people should get ad money.
Oh, hi guys. It's Perry here, and I am going to tell you about The Witching Hour. It is the show that I host along with Collider.com's Haley Fouch. It is in podcast form on the Collider Factory feed, and we also have the video up and running every Tuesday for you right there on the Collider Podcast YouTube channel. We talk about everything horror. We're talking TV, movies, the newest releases. We talk about movies that are celebrating anniversaries. We've even talked about books. It's crazy. If it is scary, we are talking about it on The Witching Hour. We also have so many filmmaker interviews, really cool stuff. It's all coming your way every single Tuesday on The Witching Hour. Check it out. Collider Factory and the Collider Podcast YouTube channel. Ugh.
Hey, Collider fans, John Roca here. Look that behind me. There it is, Collider Sports. That's right, that is happening right now. We started it a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We've had some great programming on there already. For those of you that have already watched, thanks so much. We got so much coming down the pike. We're talking about NFL. We're going to talk about NBA. There's plans about NHL. Golf is in the equation now. And, of course, the Premier League show that I host with Jack Hind, that's been in motion for the last couple of weeks. And then an MMA show is on the way from Dennis Zhang, me, and Jay Williams as well. For you might know him from the After Schmo show. What is that thing called? Afterthoughts, that's it, the Afterthought Show. All those things are happening here at Collider. And look, we want to hear from you, so we want you to listen, we want you to watch. If you're a sports fan, even if you're not a sports fan, we might entertain you, teach you something new about a sport that you may not have known much about, or maybe so deep into it that you wanted to learn even more about it. We've got you covered. You can do that. Follow us on iTunes and on YouTube. You can there watch all the shows or listen to all the shows that you want, and then leave us comments and rate the shows as well and review them, and then let us know what other sports you want us to cover. Look, we're not touching rugby. I'll just tell you that right now. That's as far out as we'll go, or cricket. But maybe in the future, if we go Collider worldwide, that's certainly a possibility. But for right now, Collider Sports is there for you. Take a look at it, take a watch, and let us know what you think.
Hey guys, Reilly here, and let me tell you about the Reilly Roundtable. That's right, they gave Reilly his own podcast. The Reilly Roundtable is on its new home, and that is One-on-One with Kristian Harloff on the iTunes feed for Podcast One. It drops every Thursday. The Reilly Roundtable is a little bit about everything. It's about movies and life and movies and everything in between. I like to have on special guests for discussions like Justice League versus Batman v Superman, for discussions about wine tasting, for discussions about UFOs, and everything in between. That's right. The Reilly Roundtable drops on Thursdays on the One-on-One with Kristian Harloff podcast feed and later on Collider Video's own podcast video network. So check it out every Thursday, the Reilly Roundtable. See you there.
There's a lot of jokes going on. Welcome back to Collider Live. Our guest, Jordan Harbinger, is not here at the moment. LA traffic is a bizarre, but we are...
Man, there's a lot of traffic on the 405 right now.
It is a bizarre. What an interesting, fun show this was.
Yeah, that's what we were just laughing about.
Oh, what?
It was just going over all the things that we've gone over, and then, where it could go
Where
from
it could
here.
go from
Yeah, it got serious. It got silly. Are you guys voting tomorrow?
We talked. Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody vote.
It's going to be... I feel so stupid for not doing mail-in. Because that would have been so
You
easy
still can
for
do
me.
it. You can still mail in.
How do I... What do you mean?
You can't. The mail-in is past due.
Oh, it is.
Mail-in was the 30th.
I have to go.
You gotta
I
go
have
to
to
the post
go,
office.
and my polling place is where we live.
Yeah, but you can drop it off at the. You can.
No, I don't have it. I
Oh,
don't
you
have
don't
a mail.
have
You
a-
have
I
to
didn't
ask
for a
Oh,
mail.
you didn't ask for one. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So I have to go in like a moron.
See, I
And
have mine. I'm just gonna drop it off tomorrow.
I'm here, and then the next shoot I have is over on this side. I'm gonna have to go from here to where we live
I see.
back to over here.
I'm the same. I have to go to LA County all the way tomorrow.
But I'm
in the
gonna do
morning.
it because you can't talk about shit and not vote.
No,
you have to.
If you
Also-
talk about shit, you have to fucking
You
vote.
gotta vote. Yeah, also-
Millennials.
Be sure to post about it.
Especially if you complain about daylight savings.
If you voted and you don't
Or
post,
saving.
it doesn't count.
Oh yeah, that's one of them, right?
It doesn't count.
That
What
one, the daylight saving time. I saw Sam Levine's post, so it's
okay.
saving time, right? It's
Saving.
not saving.
Closing
savings.
time.
Yeah.
What are you voting for on that one?
I want to get rid of it. I think it's dumb and it's antiquated, and it's not necessary. How many other ways can I say it's dumb?
So
You don't
explain
like
it.
it.
Explain what it exactly what it is.
Well, that we just would stay on one time. I think, I believe is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nobody really knows.
No, that is what it is. You
Okay.
get rid of like how we just fell back.
Yeah.
You don't.
You don't. Just leave it as it is.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so it's just darker.
Because
or
the
it's
reason
dark or light.
that the reason it was the way it was is because of farming, and now farming is not the way that it used to be, and
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. There's like tons of reasons why
Yeah.
people don't think it's necessary anymore.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean that one I don't really give a shit about either.
How
way.
do you guys decide?
That's the most important thing in the ballot.
Oh, okay.
How do you guys decide what you're doing? Do you have people, you have friends you call and talk to? Do you look at
I
LA
read.
Times? You read about it?
Yeah, I read about it. Also, I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I have my certain opinions or certain things that need to happen that I feel, and I have been paying attention to over the last couple of years, and I let it I just let it sway me that particular way, and then I look, and there's certain things that I don't even know about that until I start seeing commercials about. Oh, that's what they're going to start. doing.
Yeah, like Prop
Yeah.
8, Prop 6, all stuff.
all that stuff.
But
There's
it's
always a
so
prop.
confusing. I mean,
It's so confusing. I've never had a harder time than I'm having this time
Right.
figuring out what for these props what the right answer is.
Right.
People are swaying me one way or the other based on like what the union is saying versus
And
how
they-
it affects
they
people.
text you now.
They just texted me.
I know.
They just texted
What did
me.
they text you?
All right, we'll find it.
All right.
You talk about something else.
All right. Well, there's a lot of texting going on.
Yeah,
You get the
I go to
texts?
my wife. She helps me.
She helps you, yeah.
decipher some of the stuff.
Well, this one says, "Hi, it's Melissa. Election day is tomorrow, November 6th. Check out what's on your ballot and where to vote."
Well, that's fair. That's just reminding you. And I think, well, if you notice this year, though, too, more than I
No, I've
think.
been getting specific texts, so I'll find
Well,
one.
but voters, the registration has gone up tremendously in the this year, and I
Which
think
is great.
Which is great, and I think that that's the thing. So for all of our listeners, whatever side you're voting on, vote. You should vote, and it's
Okay.
important to get your voices heard. And like you said, though, too, everybody screams and yells or says things and argues with people about their views, right? Like Roxy said. You really shouldn't be able to do that unless you're letting your voice heard. So
and that's
whatever-
fine. If you don't want to vote,
Right.
then just
You shouldn't talk about it.
STFU.
Yeah, but
this is a text that I got today. Hi, Roxanne. I'm Taylor with the Kevin DeLeon for U.S. Senate campaign,
Who's
proudly
Roxanne?
endorsed. That's me. Proudly endorsed by the California Democratic Party. We also just released a short video. Check it out. Vote on Tuesday, and then with the video.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No.
Well.
Well, I don't.
Sorry.
I don't like.
I don't like that.
I don't like that shit.
I don't like all the money put into campaigning
Well, you
and
gotta,
these
though.
things. I know you've got to, but
I
just
know you
the
have to, but why can
millions-
this person text me?
But millions
How
of
can
dollars.
they text you?
Yeah,
Well,
how?
Well, because when you sign up, and depending on where you sign, how you sign up, your information.
I'm signed up as an independent though.
Okay.
And
well,
so I get from both sides.
Right. Well, there you go.
But I don't like that. I don't like
that.
I don't like
Yeah.
that. You should not be able to text me. I already
Right.
get enough emails.
Right. Well, listen, that's what they do.
Did you block it? Does it?
How do you do that?
You just
You
block.
block.
the
You can block
number.
numbers.
Without calling somebody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to do it
Huh.
later. Anyway.
But a lot of them have figured out, and they call you from a different one every time.
Oh,
I want to block
wait,
Apple.
All right, I want to block you guys for a second.
All
So,
right.
Nope.
Leave No Trace, you watched it.
Yeah, I did.
And? So whose side are you on?
Okay, it's rough. I
It's
go back and forth.
It doesn't. I think
between whose side I'm on.
Okay.
So I'll say this:
Yes.
I watched with Ben. We made it our date night. The entire time, we both were waiting for something
to happen,
which didn't.
Never.
So I was confused about what the movie was. I really enjoyed it for
Good-
what
great
for what it
performances.
was. Yeah, great performances.
He was great in the movie.
You were excellent, Ben. Very, very good job, Mr. Foster.
Appreciate it.
But it was so strange that movie got made because
I mean, you
the
look at-
script is just
Well, the director directed Winter's Bone. And,
Yeah.
And very similar. I mean, as far as the directing.
the direction
and-
made sense.
Yeah, I think that, the one thing I was talking to Perry about this too, who loved it, right?
She did.
She loved it. I think that what I agree with Perry on is that the daughter had the best arc.
She had an excellent arc.
She was great.
I
And
agree.
she was great in the movie. She had a
So
great,
for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking
Yes.
about, Leave No Trace is a movie about a father and his daughter who are living in a national park.
Father was an ex-war vet.
He's a war vet, and she is a young teenage girl, I would say. Well, sometimes she looked like 25.
I know, it's true. But they just literally they just go from like either little pockets of places to the next.
Yes.
Right, and it's so.
It's very slice of life.
Yeah, and nothing really happens though. And I think like Ben Foster, I wanted to learn more about. Like I knew that he had PTSD, but like what happened over there? Like there wasn't there. That's the thing to me. Like you said, I enjoyed watching it, but I didn't leave going, wow! Like this movie needs to get nominated.
I think that it really wasn't. I didn't mind that we didn't know as much about his story because it wasn't his story; it was hers.
Right.
And that's not how the movie was really pitched. So that
Maybe
was the
that's what it is,
problem.
too,
But like,
yeah.
if I knew going in this was her story,
Yeah.
then I don't really need to know that stuff.
I started watching another movie last night. It was Ethan Hawke's movie.
Which one?
Guys, can you bring up the?
I love him.
The Explorers.
He's a reverend, and
It's a 2018 movie.
yeah. Well, it says 2017, but that's when it debuted in the festival. But first Reformed. That's it.
Real quick, guys, continue this. Guest is walking in a few seconds.
Okay, cool.
That's all the laughter we hear.
So First Reformed was a movie. It was released May 18th of this year. Paul
Oh,
Schrader.
brother's birthday, which is not relevant to
May
this
18th
conversation.
is my brother's birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why we're connected, man.
There you go. Yeah, not my birthday. And it's Reilly's birthday too.
Really?
Yeah. Paul
Oh.
Schrader directed the film, and yeah, it's the pastor of a small church in upstate New York spirals out of control after a soul-shaking encounter with an unstable environmentalist activist, and his
You
pregnant
can
wife.
fucking see that.
Almost. That was a little tougher. That one was tougher. You know what's funny is that I can read.
No.
You can't?
No.
You know what I'm doing though now is I'm doing this thing like when I look close. I'm doing that thing now.
Somebody shows you something on their phone.
That was so,
Yeah.
no, I can see that now.
Yeah,
that was so impressive.
Well, maybe-
for anybody listening, you have no idea how small that font was.
That
Kristian
far
just read.
was, but I mean, listen, I'm telling you, like when I'm checking my phone up here, I'm pushing back and doing the dad
Yeah.
look with the De
I
Niro.
close one eye almost
De Niro
every
style.
time I read anything.
Yeah, De Niro style. Oh, great.
We'll get your eyes checked.
I know. I need to.
Who was that?
That was my wife.
Oh.
But I
no,
like
I
that
need
first-
to get mine. That's
Me too.
you need to do it too.
I like that first Reform though so far. It's a slower
What do you-
movie.
oh,
but
you haven't finished it.
no, because I was exhausted last night.
movies of the year.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Alex. I
Alex,
I
how's
liked
it
it so far. You know the problem was that I was so exhausted from working all day Saturday and then the stupid daylight savings times, whatever it's called.
Yeah, but that helped you.
No, it doesn't help me because I was up earlier because of the kids. I was up.
No, you got an extra hour of sleep.
It depends on what time you go to sleep, and so
What? No, it doesn't.
Kids don't give a shit about daylight savings.
They don't give a shit. I was up. So basically, instead of 5:30, I was up at 4:30.
Oh, they woke up. I
Right,
get what you're
right.
saying. I get
So
what
like
you're
this morning I was up. Normally we wake up at like 6:15. Today I was up at 5:15.
Yeah.
So that stinks. That's what it
Why
does.
do kids wake up so early? It's kind
Right.
of obnoxious.
Hey, Jordan. Nice. Jordan Harbinger is here.
Bye.
So we are going to have our guest come in here. There we go. Jordan Harbinger, the host of the Jordan Harbinger Show, is about to sit down and talk to us. Jordan, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. You know, it's funny. I thought, it's Collider Live. It's live, right? And they're like, no, it's a podcast.
So here I am, right on time.
Well, at least we got you the information. Well, you are here now. Thank you for making it over. And I wanted to. We started off the show here, and this is the way to throw you into this too.
Yeah.
Because Reilly was giving us kind of a breakdown of your history, and one of the fascinating things is all the interviews and amazing guests that you've had in your past. You had been abducted before you to kidnapping?
Yeah. It's like looks like it's a hobby here.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to have your own tip sheet.
No,
that's
just
not for you.
take this back.
Yeah, I was like, I know all of this information that's here.
Yeah. So what happened?
Well, the first time I was in Mexico, I was 20 years old. I just got in a fake taxi. You know what a fake like it's a taxi that's not really. I mean, he probably was actually a cabbie and was like, I can make a lot more money if I don't know, sell your organs or whatever.
Oh my God.
By yourself?
So I was alone. Yeah, I was 20 years old. I was like, I'm going to a bar with my friends. So here's how dumb I was back then. I was living in the hood, first of all. And I told the cabbie that I got in the cab. I said, hey, man, by the way, I only have credit cards. I don't have any cash. And he's like, no problem. I'll take you to the ATM. So I said, great. I'm wearing like Banana Republic chinos and like I've got like a blue button-down shirt on. I'm in the middle of like this hood in Mexico City. And I told the cabbie to take me to the center of town because it's like going to the White House, you know, in Mexico City. Everyone knows where the center of town is. The presidential palace is there and everything. So he's like, yeah, let me drive around aimlessly for a while. And I thought, what are you doing? You know, maybe there's traffic. And then you start going through your head like, oh, this isn't really happening, but I kind of think it's happening.
You knew it was kind of going wrong. Yeah.
And I went to go kind of like test the door, and it was locked, you know, like a child lock.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, man. And the lock had been cut.
Oh, God.
So that, like, you know how the top of a lock will come off in a crappy old car?
Yeah.
He had clearly cut it.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't, like, reach in and open it manually. And so I was like, all right, I'm going through this whole thing in my head. Is this happening? No, this can't be happening. I'm like, all this rationalization, I'm going to get killed.
Right.
You know, I'm going to
20 years old, man. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I told him to let me out. He's like, no, we're almost there. I was like, well, I know that's not true.
You said that?
Yeah.
And in Spanish, or are you speaking
In
English?
Spanish,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it was better then than it is now. But yeah, and he's like, no, I'm going to ask my friend for directions. And I'm like, okay. You don't need directions to the center of town in Mexico City. It's like if you're in D.C., the cabbie's not like, I don't know how to get to the White House. I think I've driven past that once or twice. You know, they know where that is. So he started giving me kind of a runaround, and we parked in front of this like really crappy cinder block building, and I was like, don't get out of the car. And I moved behind him. I was sort of the opposite seat in the rear.
Yeah.
So I slid behind him, and I put my arm between him and the door, and he didn't know that. And he's like, calm down, relax. I'm just going to get out and ask my friend for directions. I was like, don't get out of the car. Just drive somewhere else. Drive back where we came from. And he made like a fast move for the door. But I had my arm there. And granted, at this point, I'm 20. I probably had worked out all day in Mexico because I didn't have anything else to do and ate, carne asada. And this is a guy who's sitting in a cab for 10 hours a day for 30 years. So I easily overpowered him. You know, he was probably 50. I was 20. And then I still couldn't get out. So I had to crawl between the front seats and open the door, push him out, and then I tried to drive the car, and I couldn't drive a stick shift. 1968 Volkswagen Beetle.
Wow.
So you actually pushed him out of the car. You got him out.
And is he trying to get back in?
No, he was unconscious at this point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
You knocked him out?
I choked him out, yeah.
Wow.
You know, like,
Wow.
like imagine
I
like...
buried the lead there.
Yeah, sorry about that. Choked him out.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I don't... It seems weird to be like, yeah, I choked out this old man.
Are you
Oh,
trained?
his story's so much more fun than mine.
I know.
Damn.
Are you trained in MMA?
I was back then. Now, I mean, probably could do like 3 burpees and then barf. Yeah.
better than most of America, man.
That's true. I could at least get down there without hurting
But
myself.
at the time you know what you're doing. You choke the guy out. He dumps him out of the side of the road there too.
Right. We're not moving or anything, FYI.
Does anybody else see this happening?
No, thank God. Because this is before mobile phones were super ubiquitous, right?
Okay.
So because right now I'm like, he would have just texted people like, be outside.
Right.
And then I would have been done.
Right.
But he had to get out of the car. And so I didn't want him, or he had to maybe honk or something, but he didn't do that. He was going to go in. This is all happening, in my head, this is happening where he goes in and he gets his like 5 cousins or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But
you'll never know really what the real intent was.
So what did happen though? So you get him out.
I get him out of the car. I tried to drive a stick shift. Can't do it. So then I took the keys out and chucked them because I didn't want him to just like wake up in 5 seconds and then drive after me and catch me immediately. So I chucked the key. I should have kept the keys. I chucked the keys and I just started running back the way we came. And I probably ran like 2 miles.
Wow.
I mean, it was far.
So when you're running through that all by yourself in that 2 miles, like, are you panicking, or you just the adrenaline kicks in and you're just
freaking out. Yeah. I was like, I'd love to be like, yeah, then I remembered exactly which turns we made because I'd been I was freaking out.
And then what happens?
So I'm trying to flag down cars, but again, I'm like sweating through my clothes now, dressed up, white dude in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's stopping because it's the hood.
Right.
And then finally, this car stops, and it's like a woman probably about your age, and then an older guy, and I thought it was like a guy and his daughter, but I think now actually it was probably his girlfriend because Mexico.
Right.
Like, so this guy was a doctor, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I think these guys took me this fake taxi. Like, I don't know what I'm doing." I was basically just like yammering, totally just like rambling. And she's like, "We can't leave him here." I mean, that's something along those lines.
Right.
And he's like, oh. And I'm like, "Look, I will ride in the trunk." And they're like, "No, you don't have to ride in the trunk." Because I'm like, "Get me out of here now."
Because you thought they were concerned that you were a bad guy?
I think they were just like, "You're crazy."
Yeah.
But then it was like, "Why are you here?"
Right. Why are you just randomly in the
And I'm
spot,
not dirty. Like, I'm sweaty, but I'm wearing like new-ish looking clothes. Like,
Banana
what
Republic.
are you doing?
Yeah.
Like freaking like dry clean only pants,
Right.
And so they're like, "What is this guy doing here?" And I think they just knew something was up. And like broken Spanish, like tourists don't wander into the barrio over here. So he's like, "Look, where do you want to go?" And I go, "Drive me to the police station." He's like, "Let me tell you a little uncomfortable truth about Mexico. The cops either know this is happening or are not going to care, or you might even go there and they're like, so let me get this straight. You choked out a cab driver. You don't know if he's okay, and he's where?" And I'm like, "Oh, right. I just maybe like injured someone." So he goes, "What I would do," he goes, I would just move. I would leave." So that night I packed all my stuff. I told my host family I was going to go to another town, and they're like, "Okay, have fun." And then
You didn't tell your host family what happened?
I didn't tell the whole family. No, I told the sister, but I was like, "Tell them when I'm gone," because I don't want them to be like, "What? You're a criminal," or like, "No, we'll straighten this out. My son's a police officer with no rank and pull whatsoever."
And that was it. So and then you just moved on to the next town. And then when do you go back to the States?
Yeah, I moved pretty quick back to the States. I moved to Guadalajara right after that, and then I basically took another few days and like booked stuff back to the States because I don't think I could have gone to the airport and been like, "Hi, I want a ticket to America right now."
Wait, so you say this happened to you twice? You got abducted?
Not the same thing.
But
yeah.
you got taken twice. What was the second time?
The second time, so I was working for the State Department, and I had a fellowship that was like a language learning cultural exchange, and I was in Serbia, which is not Siberia, but Serbia is part of the former Yugoslavia. And so people are always like, "Wow, it must have been wow, it must have been so cold there."
I hate people.
Right.
Like Serbia used to be called Serbia, and Montenegro used to be called Yugoslavia. And great place, by the way, great people, great food, really like that place. And I was there learning culture and language, but since I was being paid by the State Department, they were like, "You're a spy, you have to check in, you have to go to the police station, you have to blah, 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 government minister, BS this and that." And I kept getting harassed by the cops. And like I would go travel, come back. They're like, "Every time you leave the country, you got to check in when you come back and tell us where you're living and who you're living with and all this stuff." And
you were leaving the country a lot?
Yeah, I was traveling a lot.
Like, how old are you at this point?
24, 25.
Okay.
Yeah, 25.
All right, so about 5 years removed from the cabbie situation here.
Totally forgot about it by then.
Right.
And I was consistently like, so for example, one time I come back from Austria. I was just on a trip. It was like a weekend trip. I come back. It's 11 p.m. at night. I go to the police station because I have to register like the day I get there. I sit there because they don't know what to do with me. They shift change, and the cop who comes in is like, "Oh, you're here at 11:30 p.m. at night or whatever time it is. You must have done something wrong." So rather than like talk to you, ask you what's going on, I'm just going to make you go spend the night in jail. And I'm like, "What the hell, man? I have work tomorrow." So I get thrown in a jail cell with all these Roma, like gypsy women, smoking. There's chain smoking. They're like yelling all night. They're like drunk. So I spend the night in jail, and the next morning the cop comes in and is like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I came to register, and they threw me in jail." And he was like, "What?" So he didn't, I mean, and they didn't, it's not like he was apologetic. He was like, "Ha ha, whatever, we're idiots and we're incompetent." So I was like, "You know what, to hell with this. I'm not registering with the cops anymore." So I just said, "Screw it. It's un-American." Right. So I just didn't register with the cops, and so for months they just had no idea where I was. And I was like, "Yeah, that's right." Meanwhile, not thinking straight, they're like looking for me theoretically. Not too strong, but they kind of think like, "Oh, well, if you're not registering, must be because you're a spy." just like we thought.
Right.
So I go to a concert.
Which you kind of.
I was being paid by State Department,
yeah.
but I was like teaching English, like
Okay.
I wasn't writing intelligence reports or anything. So these guys start chasing me around, not physically, but like they're knocking on doors like, hey, where's Jordan? Oh, he doesn't live here anymore. Well, where is he? I don't know. He moved here. So they go to the other place, and then like they think I'm evading them, but they're just massively incompetent because they don't have an address that's current. So they're like, oh, you're hiding.
Right.
I mean, it's ludicrous. So they finally sent state security guys after me, which are like their version of the FBI. These guys are also idiots. I mean, they're just like drunk morons. They found me at 8 a.m. at a rock concert.
Sounds like a Fairley Brothers movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that Serbian people are dumb or anything, but these particular state security guys, they're just like war criminals from Bosnia that are high on meth at 8 a.m. I mean, these are not like professionals in any respect. So they grabbed my buddy and I. My buddy is his dad was an organized crime figure back in the day in Serbia, so they were like thrilled with him, and then they found me and they're like, bonus, got a spy too.
And that was it. Great.
But then what happened?
So they took us to a house and they started like beating us up and stuff.
Whoa! Like when you say beat, like just like now, how serious is the beat up? So you getting
my buddy got beat up
unconscious?
really bad.
Like
yeah,
unconscious?
No, I got smacked around a bunch.
Yeah.
I got burned with cigarettes a bunch. Wow. Nothing super radio friendly, but like gross stuff like that. And then nothing worse. Not too bad. Don't let your imagination go too crazy. But my friend was
Or you're sitting there. You're tied up. There.
I wasn't tied up. I was just sitting there. People are always like, "Oh, they're gonna tie you up." They don't need to tie you up.
They don't need to.
Like,
so where are you gonna go?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna fight back? Cool.
How many
good
people?
luck.
How many guys there?
There were just 2 guys.
Just 2 guys. Were big guys?
Honestly, not really.
No.
It's funny because you think like you're gonna oh, why don't you just beat their ass? Like, okay, I guess, but then what? Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go?
Not gonna get that family to come pick you up again.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's a long flight.
Right.
So my friend is doing like he's just not. Look, when I was 20, I fought my way out of the taxi thing. Right. My friend was the guy who was like this young, I'm important kind of guy, and he just did everything wrong.
Oh, in the room, you're saying?
In the room, even before the
You know
room.
who I am type stuff?
Yeah, my dad, he knows people, and I'm just like, look, man, you can do whatever. I'm not gonna be able to do anything about it. I'm trying to make them feel pathetic for trying to beat me up, and he's like, I dare you to hit me harder, like it's
right, and they did,
right. Yeah, and he had puncture wounds and stuff, in his body. We had to take him to the hospital later. I mean, we both went to the hospital, but he was banged up.
How did he get out of it?
Well, what happened was we kept talking, and my friend kept talking, pissing off the other guy. I took him in another room, and I just kept asking questions because if someone's this is some of the stuff that we teach on the Jordan Harbinger show or at Advanced Human Dynamics too. But like when we're training special forces or intelligence agents in some of this stuff, this is the same thing that I was doing in the room, which is if someone's really upset, and this works for you on the street too. Like if you're at a bar tomorrow on a Tuesday, shame on you. But if you're at a bar, tomorrow and
follow me around,
somebody's like, "Hey man, what the hell's your problem?" You can be like, "I didn't do anything," or like, "What's your problem?" Like these are inappropriate responses. But if you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, did something happen? Do I know you?" It forces, and it doesn't have to be that question. But if people are really emotional in your face or really agitated, if you ask them questions, it engages like the logical part of their brain. Okay, in emotional part of your brain, logical part, these aren't really separate geographic regions of the brain per se, but they're different operations. It's really hard for you to be irrational, angry, aggressive, and then also think about and cognitively formulate an answer to a question.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter what the question is. So sometimes this stuff, when we run experiments with it, can be completely nonsensical, and that's what was going on in the room. So I would say things like, "Hey," they would like smack us around, like, "You're a spy. Where do you live? What are you doing?" And they were like simultaneously like almost laughing about it because I think they realized that they had nothing and they were just bored. And I would say like, "Hey, what's the best place to eat in this neighborhood, like this other neighborhood?" And they were like, "What are you talking about?" And they got frustrated, but they were calming down still.
Right.
Because,
I'm surprised that didn't piss them off, though.
Yeah.
More so.
Well, it wasn't like, I wasn't like mocking them, right?
Right.
Like, it wasn't like, "Smack, where can I get a burger?"
Right.
It was more like...
That would have been funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was more like, they're like, "What are you doing? You're a spy." And I'm like, "Actually, I teach English to refugees." And they're like, "No, this is bullshit. You're a spy." And I'm like, I was in that neighborhood. What's the place on the corner in Belgrade? I go there all the time with my students. And they're like, place on the corner. And I'm like, yeah, the one that has this kind of Pleskovica, and they put the cheese in there. And the guy's like, what are you doing here? You know, you're like breaking their emotional momentum.
Right.
And you change the frame, we call it, like changing the frame of the interaction. It's like, it's not quite as simple as changing the subject, but you've been in an argument with like your significant other, and they're like, I can't believe it. And you're like, okay, but real talk, what do you want for dinner tonight? And they're like, no, you're late all the time. Like, back to the subject at hand.
That
you can
pisses
break
my
that.
wife off though when I do that.
You got to be careful.
I gotta, yeah. Is there sometimes?
Same.
But I think that sometimes you do it for that response. She'll be like, "But I've told you we've had this conversation a million times." I go, "Yeah, but you look gorgeous today."
Yeah, so
And
you're
like-
just blatantly laying it on thick. Yeah, like.
Yeah. So then she looks over and she's just like, well, she knows what I'm doing and it pisses her off more. But that's not where you're going.
But it's not a question.
Literally what you did to me when I walked in today. I'm in the I'm livid. I'm coming out. I'm heated.
Yes.
I like the blonde.
But that's the truth, though. You do. The blonde looks good. It looks great.
He's trying to butter me out.
Yeah, but you were mad at me.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
I
also
was just
another
angry.
reason. Yeah.
I was angry.
Sorry, Jordan.
Just angry in general.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah, it's just an angry person.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's a tough work environment.
Good luck choking her out.
Yeah.
But listen, so I mean, unfortunately, we don't have that much that's time left. But I want to have you back in here because from the 2 stories alone, I'm fascinated with what you do, things that you have done. Tell me a little bit about your show, though, because if our fans who have never heard of you before and want to learn more about you, you have the Jordan Harbinger show. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So what I do is I try to. I'm a big nerd, so I'm always trying to deconstruct things that make other people great. So I had General Stanley McChrystal on the show recently, and I'm like, look, how do you make tough decisions? You got people's lives in your hands. You've got political pressure. The world's watching you. How do you calculate and make these tough decisions? So we'll have him on to talk about that. Recently, as well, this episode's coming out on Tuesday. We interviewed Robert Greene. Have you heard of this author?
Yes.
48 Laws of Power.
Yes,
He's
absolutely. I have that book.
Yeah, it's excellent. He's got a new book that's called The Laws of Human Nature, and he talks about here's why you're so easily manipulated. Here's why you're so easily convinced. Here's how you can convince others. Here's how you can do emotional self-defense. So I had him on.
That's this Tuesday.
That's coming out this Tuesday and tomorrow. Yeah. And it's
Kristian
like
wants to watch.
Well, Robert Greene for sure, because like I said, I have that book. I got that, but my late brother gave me that book, and so I'm very fascinated to hear about that.
He's great. And so the Jordan Harbinger show, I'm always trying to get nuggets out of people that are practical, not just like, that's so inspiring. Forget that. Inspiration is cheap. Here's how you get tools that people are using in their own life to be more productive or resist manipulation, convince others, make themselves better in some way. So that's what I try to do is I deconstruct. I get down to like the brass tacks.
Yeah.
I don't let people get away with BS on the show like, oh, if you just put yourself out there, you'll be great. Like, I'm on tactics.
Yeah.
And I want people to listen to every show and be able to come away with something they can apply. We even make worksheets for every episode.
Do you really?
So like if you're like, wow, that was good, you go to the website and you grab a worksheet. You get freaking homework. That's how much of a nerd I am.
Well, because you had another show before this one, but this one, how long have you been doing this version of the show?
This version of the show is since February, but I
Okay.
did another show for 11 years before that, and so it was pretty cool to be able to restart because
Yeah.
I was able to jump off with totally different brand and bring the audience with.
What made you switch?
This is a whole story for another time, but I had a gnarly split with my business partners because they wanted to keep talking about like picking up chicks and stuff, and I'm like, dude, we're pushing 40. It's getting a little sad.
Right.
And I wanted to interview General McChrystal and Robert Greene type of people, you know, and that it just wasn't. They weren't interested in that. They wanted to sell products on dating, and I was just like, dude,
You're past it. Yeah.
I look at myself in the mirror and I hate what I see when I go on this, do these kinds of things. So I started the Jordan Harbinger show from there, and I was like, I love interviewing. I love getting in people's heads. To limit it to dating for 20-year-old virgins is just like
And you lose your mind. It's boring.
I'm losing my mind.
This is. I mean, probably. I mean, I understand where you're coming from on that side. For me, for this network in general, I was doing just movie stuff and I don't take that away from anybody because a lot of people do that here. But I was getting bored with just doing that.
Yeah.
That's why we do this. I do the one-on-one show, so I understand that completely. And with saying that, I am fascinated by you for just being here for this 15, 20 minutes. I'd like you to come back.
I would love to come back. I feel guilty that I took so long, with this. The Burbank traffic, man.
It's crazy.
a war zone out there.
What we'll do is we should sit down on one-on-one because I have like an hour and a half to talk to you then too. And I'd like to just shoot the shit, learn more of your stories, learn more about what you're doing on your show, some of the great people that you've interviewed before, because I think that would be good, and I think that the audience would dig it. So let's try to set that up.
Absolutely would love that. And it's great to meet you guys.
Same
Sorry,
here.
we were just do it on a full bladder.
I highly recommend your show, too. I listened to this morning. I was fascinated. It was a mailbag session. You're answering a bunch of questions, and the questions that come in, and you're breaking down to the question and then going right into it was fascinating to me. Especially you had somebody write in about, you know, the liberal versus left, and he was a black man, but he was also have a mixed son who was dealing with. That was fascinating to me. So highly recommended.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that was I get questions like that all the time, and I'm just thinking your life is a movie.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
Well, Jordan Harbinger, and where can people find your show?
The Jordan Harbinger Show, available on Spotify, anywhere you find podcasts, or jordanharbinger.com/podcast.
Well, guys, check it out, the Jordan Harbinger Show, and we're going to get Jordan back on. Thank you for the audience sitting in the booth back there. And for Roxy Striar, Mark Reilly, Jeremy Jahns, the whole crew, we'll see you tomorrow. Collider Live. Vote!